Hello and welcome back to the Metroball Grid. My name is Andre and I am the villain in your Netrunner fanfiction. Hopefully you're doing all well today. I don't know the date. It's in June 24th? 3rd. Close enough. How's everyone doing on this fine Thursday? Now you might see that there's some incongruency here. I thought you were out till July. Narbalicious, you're totally right. We were meant to be out till July. I'm on holiday right now. Unfortunately, we had holiday plans to be somewhere else this week, and those plans got delayed. So we'll be somewhere else still next week because our holiday goes on for another week. But we're here now. So I didn't think the stream was going to happen. Let me tell you, the first like key to show business is have a show, then tell people not to show up to the show because the show is canceled, then do the show anyways, and then be upset if people don't show up to the show. Look, at the end of the day, it's content, huh? It's the 23rd because holiday tomorrow. Yeah, John, I should have known that. Tomorrow is, how's it going, by the way, John? Getting in on the ground floor on this one. Tomorrow is fête, journée de fête. It's a holiday in Quebec. People call it the day of Jean Baptiste. I think there's probably a different name for it as well, but it is basically a day off that everyone celebrates and goes wild. It is like the Quebecois holiday, I think I'm gonna clean the bathroom and have some family over. It's gonna be nice. Audio, what's up, man? Swordbear, how's it going? Hey, Giles, hey, party people. Luckily, I got the notification. Hey, it works 50% of the time, sometimes, kind of. How you doing, man? Skip on. Nice cat emoji. I'm looking forward to the mad spoilers. We should have spoilers soon. I hope. I think we have a date of when spoilers are gonna start, which we'll get to in the news. Spoilers, it's July 11th, so that's pretty soon. You said you'd be on vacation, Pat. I'm still here. Long story short, I basically, I didn't tell you, Pat, but my vacation has been delayed, so we're still in town until maybe this weekend. Is it something other than Saint Jean Baptiste? It's something other than, I don't know. Yo, Kyle, I think they call it something else at, like, maybe there's another name. Maybe someone from Quebec can tell me, but like I've always called it Jean Baptiste Day, but I think there might be another name for it. Long story short, I'm a liar. That's what I heard. Nevertheless, excited that you're up this week. Glad to catch you. Hey, glad you can make it as well. Wait, did you have a YouTube name and a Twitch name? You did. You're coasting on 2 channels. You might be thinking of Journée des Patriotes, which is Victoria Day rename here. Okay, so the way that holidays go in Canada, in Quebec, in Canada, it's you have this holiday here on June, and then July 1st is meant to be Canada Day, as you probably know in most of the rest of Canada. Here it is not Canada Day, it's called Moving Day, and it's a holiday in which people end their leases and move into other leases or whatever. No joke, they generally do not celebrate Canada Day here, they being Quebec. Unless you like are, I don't know, maybe an expatriate or a tourist, and then you go down to the old port and they do fireworks, but like for real, it's not a thing here, which is wild. Hey, Macaroni, how's it going? How'd the NBA finals end? It was last week, right? Like just at the same time we were doing this. So I just read Be Here to Love Me at the End of the World, and I disliked it powerfully. So did my book club mostly. Now I'm reading Elect Mr. Robinson for a Better World, a surreal, violent suburban nightmare. It's also known as Fête Nationale de Québec. Oh, good. Yeah, that's it. That's the name I think I've heard, John. They do fireworks at the old port because it's federal land. Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is a center. I don't know. I feel like I tuned into Metroball and was treated to a bit of a French lesson. Lol. It happens all the time, Orbital. How you doing, by the way? I think you popped in earlier. I didn't say hi. Good old Easy Mark, aka Blue Beans. There's an issue where like the intro screen to this stream is a card called Easy Mark. This is worth knowing. Because for all Netrunner players who've been getting into Netrunner recently, who maybe know mostly the Nisei sets and don't know the original core set, this is a card that was in the original core set. It's been around for a really long time. It didn't see a lot of competitive play. You might notice it just gains 3 credits. You're probably used to your Sure Gamble or your Creative Commission giving you 4 credits. This does cost 0 though, so it's easy to play, but this was almost never a competitive Netrunner card. And this picture was drawn lovingly by Matt Zellinger. This is not me. At some point, it's become a bit obvious that this person looks like me. I think the easiest way to discern it's not me is that they have an American flag patch on their shoulder. I have never done that. I don't have plans to do it. I could do it. But this is not me. This is just all white boys look the same or something. But this is a Netrunner card. Interestingly enough, I showed this on stream maybe weeks ago. There is a Matt Zellinger portrait of me, lovingly commissioned by my partner from Matt Zellinger. And while I do have that as a static card, I need to animate it at some point and get it up here so we have a new intro screen. So it's not always just easy mork over here. Tiago, first time catching a stream. And right after my first in-person game, Tiago, how'd it go? Yo, that's sick. Welcome to the channel. you have any questions, we'd love to hear your experience, but regardless, if you have any questions as well, hit us up. NBA ended with a win of my favorite team, so all is great. I'm officially logging off from until all sports till October, so it's game time. All right, let's do it. If it gets to 25 plus viewers, do we need to switch to French? We have to switch to French generally like every 15 minutes, every hour for at least 15 minutes. It's bad for viewership, but people will be assuming one of us is named Mark because of it. I like a good long title for a novel. I'll avoid that one though if you disliked it. I read Rejoice, a Knife to the Heart recently. Enjoyed it a lot for the most part. Hey, nice. More often. Tomorrow, as Easy Mark is rotated, it will be replaced with access to Global Sec. What? Wait, what? Easy Mark has been gone for a while now, right? There's no Easy Mark in Standard, is there? If you could cosplay as any card, Andre, that isn't Easy Mark, who would it be? Ooh, as any. Well, shit. I feel like, and he's behind my face, but you can't see it. I think there's always been like a joy to cosplay as Noise. Just because it's kind of a fun cosplay and it is the closest to, if not, isn't this like a direct reference, Noise's to like Hackers? Like, isn't one of the characters in Hackers wearing this exact thing? There's also that like Noise t-shirt with the skull on it made of hexagons that shows up in a couple pieces of art that I think is quite fun. Ooh, but I have to think about that a bit more. Maybe I'll just do Geist just so that I can take my shirt off and then just put paint on my chest. Give the people what they want. I want to see that custom picture, Chris. It's really good. I can't pull it up right now because I don't know where it is, and unfortunately Photoshop also has like stuff I've done professionally in it for like other people, so I can't show, like I can't just open Photoshop because you might see something that you're not allowed to see. But I'll show it at some point. Hopefully I get it animated. Sacre bleu. Wendigon, how's it going? John Netrunner, hottest Halloween costume of the year. Yo, Bizzle, Blizzle. I think you're right. You're gonna see a lot of John Netrunner for Halloween, which is the Tom Brewster costume. I feel like Andre could pull off Jeeves. I'm kind of upset that you said that. Just kind of upsetting. I have to shave my head. That's fine. Noise is a great choice. I think Noise is really fun. Trying to get my partner into it. Starter Corp. Me won 2 rounds, but she was hooked. Yo, Tiago, how you find yourself winning? I guess you're scoring out to points. That's how it works in the starter set. You also started as Corp, which is, I think, the harder one. I think Runner's a bit straightforward, so well done to you. But those first, like, not only playing Netrunner in person, which we obviously don't do a lot on this channel, but just like those first games are just a magical time of Netrunner. If I could go back and do it all again, oh boy, would I. We got a lot of news today. We have a deck list of the week, which is a bit close to home, because this is actually my deck list. This was a deck list that I posted. It's linked in here. Real life footage. It's linked in here. This is the Palantir Az deck that I've been brewing and building for a while that we took to our Silver Goblin Store Champs just a month ago. Yeah, back in May. A month ago, and we took to, there's an event of about 18 people. It was only 4 rounds. There was no top cut, but it went undefeated and it did quite well. Had some really fun games. And so I did a write-up. You can check this out. And hey, over here, Axwell in Tallinn, which I believe is Estonia, took it to their store championship and came in first. And they made a change, and it is a change that I honestly, I agree with this change based off certain metas, but it's a change that I actually reverted in my list the night before the Star Championship, and I don't regret it. Which basically all they did is they changed Amina out, or they added Amina in. So my decoder du jour that I wanted to put in this deck is Avignail, which is a decoder that is not very good in a lot of ways, but generally the criminal decoders aren't very good. But the idea is that this thing costs only 4. Still a lot, but you can trash this to bypass a code gate you're encountering. And it has a trash can ability, which is quite nice because this deck has a lot of trash can abilities that fire or gain value from trash can abilities. So with Tech Trader, you get money, and then you can bring it back with Simul Chip very cheaply, get more money. It's quite nice. But they went for an Amina here on this side over in Estonia. And Amina is the best decoder, one of the best decoders in the game. It is incredibly strong. It's incredibly efficient, especially of all the mid to high range code gates. You're breaking them generally for 4 credits, which is fantastic. And this was the decoder I had originally in the deck, because the cool thing about this deck and this deck is a lot of games don't install your decoder because you're so good at dealing with ice other ways. You have 3 copies of Boomerang and a lot of very quick and flexible ways to install them mid run or on the corpse turn, so you don't often have to break like enigmas or white spaces or what have you. But they opted for Amina here, and I think that's definitely something you could do. Obviously they did, and it worked out well. This problem I always had with Amina in testing was it was way too much money up front. Paying 7 credits, this deck can have liquidity issues setting up, so having 7 credits to install your decoder can be an issue. If you do manage to install this with Simul Chip, which this deck maybe wants another Simul Chip, you do save a lot of money, but once you get this down, you're in a good spot. It's just the issue is like, does your meta allow you to set it up? How fast is it? How often are you having to deal with what kind of code gates? If you're in a meta with a lot of mouseless and or like, I don't know, DNA tracker, maybe you'd consider the Mina over the other one. But I know I use this to bypass like, this is results oriented thinking, but I did use the Abagnale ability to bypass big code gates on a winning play. So I guess we both can be right, huh? Is that 2x Cheez It? That I see it? Oh yeah, Cheez It's so good in this one. I love Cheez It. This is the card. There's a bit of an explanation of how this deck works because it's a bit tricky. There's a lot of triggers and we're going to go through all of this. Mind you, this deck you can just about play in startup as well. You can startupize it pretty simply. The main core parts of this deck largely exist in startup. You have to change a bit more economy because you're losing this tech trader, which is like the backbone of the deck in terms of gaining economy of all the things you're doing. But yeah, flip switches, you just want as many hardware, and trash can abilities are really quite good. Let me catch out on chat because I just kind of tunneled into Az talk. It's been really fun. I really didn't like Az, and I really didn't like Flip Switch, and I really didn't care about, well, no, I cared about Prognostic Q Loop and Masterwork, but now we've gone 1080. We just kept turning in circles, and now we're back on where we like it. I meant to say 180. Just scoring behind Anoetic with a few ice, and she couldn't find a decent solution. We were close to a flat line as well. Oh, Tiago, the amount of like ire that Anoetic builds in limited formats or like you know, the sort of gateway card pool, it's a really hard card to deal with. There's very few tricks. I don't even think there's many tricks within gateway that let you deal with it. As soon as you go to a slightly bigger card pool outside of Nisei, there's like a lot of like nice direct hate onto that card, but it's really fun, and it's still a real cost to keep that thing up, and I think your opponent is quickly going to realize how they have to interact with that card. It's tricky. Got 4 games in last night. My meetup went 3-1. Then got trashed at every non-Netrunner game as usual. I need Andre for other board card games. Oh, they exist. I promise you. We can't be too rare. Seems like a lot of Blueberry to me. Yeah, Blueberry Diesel is like a card that ended up in this deck, and it was like a late inclusion. Card I don't really like. I've never played Blueberry Diesel to date. It's not a very powerful card. That's the way it seems classically. The thing is that this Blueberry Diesel lets you draw 2 for a single card, which isn't a lot of like card advantage off of a single card, but allows you to heavily filter the cards that you are drawing, which is kind of a neat thing. A lot of times you'll see criminal decks sooner play Diesel, which is the basic flavor of this, which is just 0 for draw 3. It's a shaper card. But Blueberry Diesel I liked actually in this deck because a big thing with this deck is that it hinges around like 2 to 4 cards that are integral for it to be a cogent deck. You really want your Masterworks down as soon as possible to set up your card draw. You want your Prognostic Q Loops, which you really wish you could run 3 of these if you could, because it's very good at setting up. And you want your Tech Traders, which is the backbone of your economy. And so in this deck, Blueberry Diesel is actually quite nice because it allows you to draw into the pieces that you need sooner than you would normally click to draw into them. Like, this doesn't give you card advantage, but the amount of cards it shows you and offers you, kind of like a sprint of some sort, is actually kind of what this deck needs to set up, because this deck has like a really rough early game unless it has a really good mulligan and gets its engine spinning. So I do like this thing a bit more than I thought I would. We have a Deuces Wild, which in some cases could be the third Blueberry Diesel. You can change the influence of this deck to like really like to deal with your local meta. Like if you don't need Clot, that's 2 more influence. Yeah, I like Stargate. I think Fermentor is really good too. But like the Deuces Wild was a third Blueberry Diesel plus because we had influence. So what can you do? I've been playing this deck a lot. Really like the Mina. Swapped out 1 Fermentor and the Blueberry for more Deuces and some bankrolls. Yeah, so also Axwell talked about like what they would do the deck list. They were talking about playing security testing as a way to get a good run trigger so that you can trigger your Prognostic Q Loops and get money at the same time. I think I'd rather do bankroll before security testing. For what it's worth, bankroll used to be in this list, and we ended up cutting it because we found out in any matchup, especially in the standard format, that punishes you for running or ices up heavily that you can't run early, all these economy cards that require you to run felt really, really bad. They just were dead in your hand and you couldn't spin up. Like, you can't afford to run in this deck where your breakers are expensive. You only have so many boomerangs. Like, it can be quite tricky. So you have to kind of deal with your meta. If you're finding a lot more assets, the bankrolls are quite valuable. But I liked what we did to this list and put all our influence on this, which is just an economy card. It's really good with Prognostic Q Loop if you install it on the opponent's turn, because then it comes in as a 4 credit card. And it's good with Simulchip. It's the best Simulchip target in a lot of ways. Yeah, bankroll's really good. I just felt that so much that the thing that this deck was so good at is getting rolling while it was running, but what it struggled with is just setting up, especially in situations where you're worried about hard-hitting news on like turn 3. So I kind of came away from the run-based economy, but go ahead and put it back in if you want to. Bankrolls was like a really difficult cut. Oh, meant Skunkworks, not Anoetic. Tiago, that makes a lot more sense. Skunkworks is just in the starter like gateway deck. It's a lot more reasonable than Anoetic, but you'll get to the Anoetic, don't worry. Is Ash Caprice or Skunk Void stronger? I feel like you want a class act career fair though. Nice. In this deck, I don't want career fair because we don't have enough targets. Class Act is something that you can definitely consider to play in these sort of decks. It's a connection. So Az installs it for one cheaper. The problem I've had with Class Act is that it's very, very fiddly. It's incredibly fiddly. You can trigger it on, it sometimes also messes up a bit of your interactions to some extent. The idea is that if you like look at the top two cards and then you draw one, because with Prognostic you look at two, then you can only draw one of those cards, and then it can get a bit ugly. And I feel like once the deck is set up, you're not suffering, or it's not like the extra card draw or the burst card draw is something the deck doesn't need. I think you could do it in person. Is actually quite tedious, the amount of triggers it has, and at that point, like I don't even know if it's relevant. Like you have a fair bit of burst draw, but yeah, that's why Blueberry Diesel is basically Class Act, right? Is Blueberry definitely better than having Class Act in the deck? For that reason, Pat, I think so. It just like can be really annoying because the amount of triggers, and then you look at the top two and you're like, I need to install during the run, and that draws technically two cards, like both the cards off the top go, one goes on the bottom, so you can't filter and get what you want sometimes. So it sometimes makes it whether you're dealing more often with unknown information off the top of your deck, because Prognostic plus Class Act like gives you unknown information quickly. I hope we see Cherry at some point. Yeah. Hey, Cactus, how's it going? Orbital Tangent moshing. I hope we see Cherry Diesel. Are we going to address the Pick Ones fanfic? What are you talking? Yes, we are. Janktivist, yo, Andre, happy Thursday. Thought you weren't streaming this week. I thought I wasn't either. Holiday plans had to get moved a bit, so we're still in town. So excited to be here. How's it going? Janktivist, I had like a really good story to tell you about Arkham, but I forget what it was. We're playing on hard right now. That's been fun. I'm playing Gloria as support. Her name is Gloria, right? It's been really fun. I like 3 bankroll with 2 Simo chips, but yeah, Turtle Corp's really sucker. Yeah, it's really hard, Giles. It's to get your running going. After rotation, I'm gonna try Paragon Hashiko. How about Gachapon? Gachapon's interesting. It kind of can mill through your deck a bit aggressively, but Gachapon's an option. I think it's only 2 influence. We don't have a lot of virtuals, so it'll only be for like the programs, or is it only ice? I think it's programs, right? Hey, Stanyak. First time getting to see you live. I'm watching every recording, but it's 3 a.m. in Poland. Probably will need to watch it tomorrow as always. Hey, welcome. Sorry it's so late. We're going to be doing a stream, mind you, on a weekend, a really long stream. We hit 5,000 subscribers. Maybe I should have opened with this, but we hit 5,000 subscribers on this channel. We're at like 5.01 as of now. We hit it last weekend. I need to give a huge thank you so much to everyone who's been watching, liking this content, telling friends about it, subscribing, commenting, all that sort of stuff just to help the channel grow. That's fantastic. We've been here for nearly 6 years, I think. So we've been doing this thing for a bit. I said, and we'll do this back in July when we're back after vacation. We'll do like an 8-hour, like a 12-hour stream on a weekend. We'll do Q&As. We'll do custom deck lists. We'll do whatever we want, right? Like we'll just hang out and celebrate. But I appreciate it, especially like taking the time to drop in that late in Poland. Get some sleep, huh? Yeah, Solomir, I thought we wouldn't be here too. Yeah. Flip switch helps a bit with the fear of running. I find the same thing with bankroll. Flip switch is like nice. I find myself removing the tag more often than I am actually jacking out, but it allows you to like very just bravely bravado, which is nice. Like just bravado. You don't care. That's great. Flip lets you beat tags to pretend to be Nero, but not lose to Nancy. Yeah, it's quite good. You could also, hey, out of curiosity, has anyone been doing Dolly with Netrunner card names? Patrick, today, and I can't show it, but it's been so exciting. It's been like the last hour before the stream. I just got like an invite into, is it called Journey? Or Journey Day something, but I got an invite to the Discord channel of one of these AI bots that you give it like a very precise text description and it will make you art. And then you can basically ask it to iterate on certain arts or like reseed it or upscale it. And it's absolutely stunning. Like I've had so much fun in the last hour just telling to do things and see what other people in the Discord server are asking. I have no doubt. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to do with the art. I don't want to show it right now because like people will be like, porn star in shower, and then that shows up. So like it's not safe for streaming, but we can like ask it something and then show the result at some point. It's really, really cool. It's really quite cool. Yes, on Arkham Stories, let's hear him. We're playing on hard. Gloria, what's her name? It's Gloria, right? Goldberg? Greta, I forget her name exactly, but I'm playing support. We're playing on hard, and we're playing in Innsmouth, and we've been absolutely doing really well right now. Funniest thing about Blu-ray Diesel is the strain of special lettuce. Really? Oh, special lettuce. Yes. Oh, somehow I know it's Midjourney. Thank you, nice. Someone I know got into Midjourney. It is something else. It is really quite cool. just to see what people are asking. Like, people are memeing. There's like people saying like Ryan Gosling on Canadian Goose flying over trees, and the AI makes it, and it's quite nice. It's really good from what I've seen at doing like it. I asked it to like imitate artists, so it'd be like beautiful portrait as Magali Villeneuve, who is an artist from like Lord of the Rings and a lot of other card games. Nailed it. Like, I'm pretty sure we can ask it like some art by Liga Smilshanke, and then it'll do it. Because it Googles people's images. It's like pretty buck wild. On top of that, like, it's very good at doing horror stuff because everything, or like sci-fi horror stuff, because everything's a bit unsettling. Asking for Midnight Sun scoops. It's really cool. I'll be very excited to show you what it looks like. It's obviously, I'm participating in it. I actually asked for beta access because I wanted to make art for like Netrunner cards that we were working on. But all right, let's do this. All right. Let's see if we can install the Mina. We'll also see if the Mina matters, and we'll see in what matchups we're excited to install the Mina, because there's a lot of matchups where it's quite good. New runner deck, Palantir. Also, this deck is a bit tricky. There's a lot of triggers. Jaina does keep you on track a lot of times. We had a store championship, mind you, just last, or no, it wasn't store championship, a circuit opener just last Saturday. I'll talk about that during story time, but I did play Palantir Az, and I think my last game of the day was so messy, just the amount of missed triggers. And my opponent was very kind to let me like undo things and find optimal lines, and it was absolutely a mess. So you do want to put a bit of time in playing this deck, because the floor is very low, I think, but the ceiling is incredibly high. So try and find that ceiling. Hey Parallel, Andre, you have a new fan? I'm pretty sure Evie recognizes your voice now. Hey Evie, welcome to the stream. Oh my god, you guys start young on this Netrunner grind, huh? That's really cool to hear. Hey Andre, it's been a while, but excited to finally catch a stream again. Nightlav, how you doing? That's for some scary thing, and the AI will show you on Cell and Gank combo. Running on the last click would means you will not break the loop. Oh, the loop is a nice surprise to learn. Oh, this is not a great matchup. This is controlling the message. This is a matchup where the Mina actually doesn't work that well, but that's fine. Thanks, you too. So this is the matchup that actually on the circuit opener was the one deck. This is the one matchup that we've lost with Az. I played another one at the store championship, and it was a very close game, but it's a very volatile game to some extent. Controlling the message is one of the decks that most capitalizes on mistakes made by your opponent. So you need to keep your credits up. You need to have good economy. We have missed bones in the deck. We want to start with tech traders and spy cameras. The Mina is the Amina, I'm going to say it 3 different ways, is the only clunker in our hand right here. If we mulligan, we're definitely hoping for a Sure Gamble, a Tech Trader, a Masterwork, or a Miss Bones. That would be the best for this matchup. But we're very bad at contesting early, so they can usually score out like a 3-1 AR Enhanced Security agenda on the table, and when they score that, it's a problem. Cool thing about this deck is you can stack Link. You can actually get to 4 Link, so all their traces like largely don't matter, which is a really nice way to play the matchup if you don't need to pop your Sports Hoppers for card draw. I'm gonna mulligan this, but this is like on the verge of being okay. I just wish we had a bit of card draw. This is probably fine. Try and find that ceiling is a good line to put on Netrunner cross stitch. All right, we're off. Okay, so not the best matchup again, because we have a lot of we're run based, but if we're punished early for running, server 2 could easily be a commercial bankers group or even an agenda on top of an MVT. The cool thing is if we're worried about Mumbad Virtual Tour, we can install a fermenter and then run. Then we'll have less than 5 credits, so we're not forced to trash it. The nightmare punish to that is if we hit a price sack, which we take a meat damage and a tag. But there's a chance we could install this, check twice, and then just hope they don't have, what's it called? Hard-hitting news. It's kind of a bit rough. Try and find that ceiling. Excuse me. All right. Problem is we also can't bravado. So we could just set up here. We could just set up. I think we might just set up and let them like get something on the table. I don't know. We're good at dealing with fast events. Prognostic is only good if we're running. We can draw once here. We have 2 spy cameras so we could see where the top is. If server wants a spin doctor, they could shuffle. We definitely want to get this down, and we probably want to get a hardware down because we install our first hardware each turn for free. So we want to maximize our triggers. We can draw once more. There's Masterwork. If we install this, we draw a card. I don't think we're in a rush to do that. We probably do. We could just discard a card here. This is a good card in the matchup too. So we definitely get this down. If we install this, we install it for 1 credit and draw a card, which is good, but then we have to discard a card. I don't mind that. She's really good in this matchup because there's a lot of things to trash. I think we can definitely discard a spy camera. We need Lincoln startup. DreamNet Reina needs to be real. Yeah, it's weird that there's no link whatsoever in startup, and yet there's a card that cares about link. But I guess that is rotating from startup soon. All right, that was pretty good opening for Ren, right? Like a commercial bankers group and a Rashida. So they're at 10 credits on turn 1. For CTM, that's kind of incredible. That is the best econ start I think they can have. So server 2 could be Agenda, server 3 is a Maryland, but we're definitely way far behind on this opening turn. This, mind you, we trash for 4 credits. Miss Bones comes down for 1 credit, and then we can start trashing things. If we hit a Mumbed Virtual Tour, we're still forced to trash it, and we still have to take the trace, which we could clear with the flip switch for technically free. But we are asking to get hard-hitting news if we do this sort of stuff. So I'm just going to install this and keep running. And a very important card. We have a lot of trash cans, and this is a lot of money, but they're probably going to score at a 3-1 at some point. So we just need to establish our economy before we start interacting. We can install this turn or next turn. Next turn we can install these 2, and that's probably fine. We usually don't need the back. These matchups are generally over sooner than the back matters. Excuse me. Belch into the microphone. That's probably fine. We've installed our hardware turn. I'm just going to install this and probably draw. Should have done it in the other order. We'll throw out the back here. But next turn, we can install a flip switch to draw a card, the tech trader to get it down for free, and there is the AR enhanced security. That's where we probably should have ran. I'm surprised they didn't put this on top of server 2. Maybe that's a good bluff. But now anytime we trash something, we have to take a tag. And this is any card, unlike CTM, which is an installed card. So once we get our Stargate down and start trashing cards at the top of R&D, we're going to have to take tags anyways. All right, so not a great start. Probably could have kept them honest into check. They did draw 3 cards. The chance of them having hard-hitting news is pretty high. We don't know if they're a boom deck. Sometimes they're just a tempo-based, like Mali is a Loka, MCA Austerity deck. It's not. Is it Zaloka? That's why we have widescreens on our mic, windscreens on our mic to keep the belchers out. I don't think it went through. I'll be honest. I hope it didn't. I'll install this to draw a card. All right, we have another masterwork. We can actually install it in theory. It is unique. That's not a great thing to do, but you could do it. We want to get this down so our trash cans actually give us value. But we're just going to draw and set up. That's fine. We can install this next turn to gain credit. We're just not doing anything here, but we're going to have a burst of money soon. So we just want to set up on the table. We can install her this turn, or we can install her next turn. We can install her next turn, then we can install the spy camera to draw. We'll draw 1 more. That's good. Our economy engine is just about set up. Let's see how fast they go. They generally don't go too fast. But I'm worried about what server 2 is. They just purged. I'm surprised about that. Like, I feel like them getting 3 credits a turn is something, but they spent their whole turn just to put us backwards. Technically a fair bit, but... Second one. Install and draw. We have another fermenter, which makes the purging a bit sweeter. Now if we crack any of these, they're 2 credits a pop, 2 credits a pop, clear a tag, and gain 2 credits. This now becomes a 4 credit pop. So they did put us backwards on economy, but we're going to slowly get there. We're just going to set up. They still have a lot of work to do. They need to score to 7 points if we don't run. It was the second Rashida, commercial bankers group there, 19 credits. Hard-hitting news, mind you, gives you 4 tags. Server 2 coming down, server 4 as well. And we got to check some of these. There's no way they're not jamming on the table. And can we deal with hard-hitting news at the same time? I'm worried about a Cyberdex Fire Suite in theory. Miss Bones comes down for 1 credit, leaving us with 12 credits. We'll take 2 tags, 1 from the trace, 1 from the AR enhanced security. We can clear 1 of the tags clicklessly. Not fantastic. We want to keep this for the clearing a tag. So if we like Bravado HQ and then we take a tag from like a turnpike, we're going to feel pretty bad. IP block is pretty annoying too, because we'll take a tag. So at this point that we do need to get the Miss Bones down. So we'll install her for 1. They can technically res. There's an asset that lets them blank one of our resources. So she becomes blank, which is a huge loss of credits. So if we crack this as 4 credits, we could just wait. I think they're going to score it again. I think we're okay to play a bit of control. Let's keep going. I hate CTM so much that I'm breaking out highs watching this. It's really stressful. And like you make 1 bad run, the game is over. Like you run into Mumbed Virtual Tour and the credit differential is different than what you think. Like game's suddenly over. If we click for credit, install this, we draw a card. Never loved clicking for credits. We probably should just crack the spy camera. And I think they're going to try and keep a spin doctor on the table just so that if we spy camera and see an agenda on top of their deck, they won't do anything. VT rotates out soon, parallel. In the next rotation, it'll rotate out soon, as well as Commercial Bankers Group, which is a bigger deal, arguably. You also lose, what else do you lose? You lose Mumba Temple. There's a lot of asset stuff. Jeeves is gone. That makes these a bit worse. So this is 6, 7, 8 credits for a click. Not too bad. We could also just like simul-chip it back in and make more money, which is quite nice. The simul-chips don't have that much value in this matchup, besides threatening a clot if you need to. It's our only simul-chip, and we did throw out a recursion card, which maybe is a mistake. Maybe we'll regret that. But I do think we want to start checking things. So we'll take that. Let's run server 6. We can only bravado an ice, a server that has ice on it, so we can't bravado these. So we'll do our order here. We're not going to install, oh, we in theory could install boomerang. So we'll look at, yeah, okay, we'll install the boomerang. So here's our triggers. Masterwork lets us install hardware. This will draw us a card. Draws a card. Look at the top 2 of the stack. So we have Sure Gamble into Stargate. So it's good to know there's a Sure Gamble on the top. Again, if we trash a card the first time a turn card, it's Amalia Zaloka. There she is. So she's going to go ahead and blank our Miss Bones. We're going to go ahead and trash her. Now we have a tag from AR Enhanced Security and a trace. We will not flip switch to reduce the strength of the tag. You generally want to just remove the tag. And now we want to trash like multiple things a turn because we're set up to do it. So they're doing trace 5. They actually boosted because we could have beat trace 4. So we'll take 2 tags, which is obviously quite annoying. We'll clear 1 tag, gaining 2 credits. We could install this. No, we need our clicks. So now we can run 1 card. I don't know what this stuff is they didn't res, and then clear the tag manually. Install a piece of hardware now. I don't know what this stuff is. They didn't res any of this stuff. It's a spin doctor. Okay, that's 1 off the table. And we probably can still get hard-hitting news here. We'll remove the tag. To make sure we don't get hard-hitting news, it's going to be impossible to not get hard-hitting news. Unfortunately, we can't clear all the tags. I think we are going to simul-chip back in the fermenter because this actually makes us money. So now we have 5 credits and link. We can always respond to them if they do something to us to get more money, but I think the trace is going to be pretty inconsequential. So we'll do something now. Oh, hold on. Oh, 1 second. I'll pop this before you HHN. I just want to pop this before they hard-hitting news. Just so we have a bit more money. There's a hard-hitting news on top of the deck. So the trace gets a bit more awkward. You never really want to spend more than 8 credits on the hard-hitting news trace because you can spend your turn in 8 credits to clear all the tags. It's technically more expensive. But if somebody like does a hard-hitting news trace of like 20, there's a lot of times where you'll just take 8. Need a trace for 9. That's correct. 7 credits and 1 link. Okay. So now we can clear the tags. It's going to be a lot of our money, but luckily we have drip economy coming in, and we can clear all the tags. We know there's a hard-hitting news on top of the deck. We don't want to float even a single tag because they can trash our resources. So we're just going to do this. We know it's a hard-hitting news. Remove 4 tags. Now this is obviously quite annoying, and they have a window to score out a card, but it is what it is. The actual breakpoint for how much forcing the 4 tags versus letting the runner play the trace is about 12 credits. Yeah, technically, because they can always do stuff with their credits. Oh, there's just a Beal on the table. Shit. Okay, but our economy is getting a bit better. We can zoom in a wee bit. We don't know what these servers are. Server 2, we have no idea what it is as well. We have to watch out for a Bologna. If we steal that, exchange of information becomes a target. But generally, if we want to run and trash things, we want to run and trash multiple things. So we know the Stargate's on the next on the deck. We could shuffle if we wanted to with Boomerang. I'm just going to install this. If we Bravado HQ, we know that they have a hard-hitting news in hand, so we need to keep our money up. I'm going to crack this for, what is it, 13 credits? And now we can start playing control. We know there's a Stargate on top of the deck. I don't want to play this, because generally, no, if we play this now, then we have more clicks to run and trash things. But now we have 18 credits to 12, so we've survived the early game. We're transitioning to mid-game. Rashida and a Bankers Group, they didn't res. They'd rather have the surprise of it. But now we know we don't have to run this if money doesn't matter. They have a hard-hitting news in hand. So we know where 2 bankers are. We know where 1 MVT is. The Boomerang here on HQ is going to be a bit awkward. Probably didn't need to do the play where we clicklessly installed it. We have a Stargate on top of the deck. So we're going to draw once. So we can see a new card here. And then we can start running. So we'll not use our Masterwork. Look at top 2 stack. It's Diversion and Intimus Bones. It's good to know. It's a Maryland campaign. I don't think their money matters. We're not fighting their economy anymore, so we don't have to trash their econ operations. We want to trash fast events, and we want to trash other stuff. Like, we'll steal a Beal. Okay. 18 to 23. We could Boomerang R&D again. The issue is if we put down Stargate, obviously will be very powerful, but the problem is we take a tag with the AR Enhanced Security. So not the best. Just not great for us. On top of the deck, I forgot what it was already. I think it was a Diversion into Miss Bones. We can get good value from Miss Bones. We could consider starting cleaning up everything. They're getting 6 credits a turn. We don't have Citadel Parallel, but these are the sort of cards that like you could just build into the list. Do you clear up bankroll before running? You mean the Fermenter? I don't think we need to. We have 18 in a link. I think we just need to get to our Sports Hoppers and we need to get to our the rest of our deck largely. We don't also have like Rozekis. We don't have pad taps, which is a big thing of why I'm a fan of this deck. It has a different economy package than a lot of other decks. modernly. Action? What the heck is server 7? Did we not check? Did we check server 7? New remote. No, we didn't. Oh, that's annoying. Nope. We know the top card of the deck, but in theory, we could always like prognostic loop to pick a clot off the top of our deck. Oh no, all good. I don't think we checked server 7. It's a hard-hitting news. Okay, well, they can spend a lot of money into this. Again, we could spend our whole turn clearing it. This is going to be another 13 credits, which is a lot, but our economy is very limited after this point. We're going to have to get our economy off boomerangs and other trash abilities. Trace 20. You don't see that often. Busy for the next 2 weeks. This is a lie. The century right there. You know, yo, Mizuki. Okay, next time that I have extra time on my hands, I'll know not to come back to upset you, okay? They can spend 20 credits on that, I think. First time tuning the stream. Love your vids, David. That's very kind. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Server 11 defo agenda. It kind of is, but the issue is like if we float a tag and they clear our 3 tech traders, like we're toast. We're definitely toast. Cards that we know like there's no way for us to clicklessly remove. I think server 7 would more likely be an agenda than 11, but there's definitely an agenda on the table. This is where like clearing their money might be good. I picked up everything at Nisei Yuki JE and I'm loving it. Yo, that's really good. That's fantastic. I'm glad that they had an event so close to a lot of people learning about it. Okay, issues. If we float the tags, we could die to Boom if we float 2 tags. Boom is a card that says if the runner has 2 tags, 7 meat damage. That's a problem. Psychographics on 4 tags is a card that says put advancements on a card equal to the number of tags the runner has, so they can fast advance 5/3s from hand. That's bad. Exchange of information is not too bad. They let them swap agendas between the score areas, so they can trade the 1-pointer for the 2-pointer, which is more points for them, but then they lose the text on this card, which is the more annoying thing right now. So that's the issue. If they have something like, what's it called? The one that trashes all resources, then we're like really in a bad spot. So I think we're just going to clear all the tags. I wish we had Deuce's Wild in hand so we could clear tags and do something, or we had another flip switch. And we know the next card of the deck is not either of those, so we can't like hope to draw with prognostic. All these people tuning into the stream for the first time is really teaching you the wrong lesson about keeping your promises. Oh, they didn't score out. Wow. Yeah, I'll sing I. Thank you. Though you do the mean or Abigail more in the deck. I generally do Abigail, but I see reasons for either of them. We should know the top card of the deck. It's hard to remember this when everything's happening at the same time. We can definitely check this stuff. We haven't seen enough of the influence spread to figure out where they are. We've seen 2 hard-hitting newses though, and they didn't recur them, so there's less punishment for us running the later the game goes. We have 12 credits. This, if we don't get it purged, is another 15 credits, which is a lot for a click. So let's just start checking stuff. Hitting a Cyberdex Fire Suite would be the worst part. I think we are going to actually do this. So we'll do Masterwork first. We'll install this. Yeah. Miss Bones. Oh, we knew that. Oh, I hit no. That's fine. We'll run again. It's no big deal. Some Miss Bones on top. So we want to clear this Miss Bones. Do you want to trash Boomerang? No. Nah. To install the other one? Wait, you know about that? Oh, weird. I paid 1 for that privilege? Oh, wild. I paid 1 for that. Neat. This is Jeeves. We'll bring Jeeves down. Jeeves lets them to do some pretty mean stuff. We'll get rid of this. Yeah, it's an issue with JNet. Oh, because I have to manually trash this first. So I didn't hit no, I hit yes. Okay. So CTM trace, we can spend 3 credits here, or we can take the tag. I'm just going to spend 3 credits. That's about what our click is worth. We'll do server 13. Yeah, I didn't realize that JNet was scared of it. I don't want to run with the tag because of, what's it called? Because of IP block having a chance of being on R&D. So now we're 8 to 18. They're going to gain another, again, 8 credits, but money is only so useful once they've played 2 hard-hitting newses. There might be a third one on the list. Some don't. So we could just hit this money button and then clear tag. Okay. So we're not going to have more money than them, but We're going to have similar money to them. And we still have to figure out how to win. We win in 2 agenda accesses. The Stargate, again, is a bit difficult. I wish we had, again, you could easily put in this deck Citadel Sanctuary, which allows you to clicklessly remove a tag. It's quite good in any deck that has Link, because then you don't pay anything. And the amount of money you save off of Citadel Sanctuary, removing a tag at the end of your turn, is a click and 2 credits. That's so much for an economy card, if you consider it as just a straight economy card, as opposed to like some sort of defense card, which technically it is, right? JNet needs a runner corp to manually trash their active unique cards. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no. It won't even highlight the card. It won't let you know you can install it. But it's important to know if you want to install it or res a unique card, you only have to just trash the one that exists on the table. I think for resing unique cards, JNet will do it for you automatically. I don't even think it warns you. But if you want to install a Boomerang or even another console, you have to manually trash this one. But yeah, that's been like that forever. I think on the corp side, it's a bit easier if you're resing. You're like, shit. All right, so server 7 could be a fast advance piece, could just be a Mumbid virtual tour. I don't think we know what server 11 is, but at this point, we really have to do something. So we're going to try and get some accesses. They've drawn a fair bit. 4 agendas are out. They've gone through half their deck, so maybe there's something in HQ. I'm just going to go ahead and Bravado R&D. We're going to use we'll trash this. We'll masterwork first, install this. This is 1 credit cheaper. It draws us a card. So we draw Miss Bones. Look at the top 2 cards of stack. It's a masterwork into a flip switch. Flip switch is really good to know. We have to remember that because we can always pay a credit with the prognostic. It is a ping. Okay, good. Good to know. So that's down. Oh, we'll boomerang that. It will shuffle our deck, unfortunately. So, you know, a lot of the value you get with like, what's it called? If you have class act, gets a bit awkward. See a card here. It's a Sansan City Grid. If we trash this, we do take a tag. If they draw, it's a bit alarming for us. We do have access to Clot, but we don't have it now. Is there still a rule that to trash a program that doesn't have a trash ability, you have to install another program? Yes, you can never trash cards for fun. You have to be installing stuff. Same goes for ice. You can trash any amount of ice on a server where you are installing a piece of ice. You don't have to, yeah, you can't just like fun trash. Same thing for resources. No, you can't trash your own resources, but programs specifically because they take up MU. Anytime you install a program, you can trash any amount of programs. There's the Mina. Again, 7's a lot. I don't think on this board state we would install an Abigail either, but this is the sort of awkwardness that you can get with this card. Also, whatever card we see up the top of R&D, they will not draw that card because the Maryland campaign likely shuffles. So I don't even remember what we saw. It's been a minute. Okay. Remove tag and turn. Probably the version doesn't matter when they're getting 6 credits a turn. Okay, second Maryland, server 7 is an upgrade of some sort. If it is, we could lose if it is specifically the Sansan City Grid, which is what we saw on top of R&D, and they draw into their last Beal or the Tomorrow's Headline, a 3-2. So our thing right... Oh, okay, well, we have to run this. We don't have a flip switch anymore. We could install the Boomerang on R&D. Yeah, let's do this. So let's try and do everything at once. We'll run server 7. First, we'll use Masterwork to install this on R&D so we can get a cheeky run after. Look at top 2 cards of stack. We have a Masterwork into Bravado. Technically, we can click to credits and install the Masterwork. The Bravado coming up is good. We'll breach the server. No more Beals. Oh, you're right. We have all the Beals. It's Amalia. She's blanking Miss Bones. Click a card to access. We're not going to trash the Amalia. So we have to access all cards. It's Mumbed Virtual Tour. We have to pay 5 for that. This we're paying 3 to trash to gain back 2 credits. It's not really good. Trace 4. We'll pay 3 on this. No action. So here we could do Sure Gamble. No. We could trash this Miss Bones, install another Miss Bones. On top of our deck was Masterwork into Bravado, right? We definitely want to check server 14. They have no fast advance on the table, which is quite nice. We could either trash this to install the next Miss Bones. I think that's probably better. Then we can run server 14, and then we can clear a tag. Yeah, Tomorrow's Headline is the last one. Daily Business Show is actually worth trashing here. We've already trashed a card, so both controlling the message and AR enhanced security won't be an issue because they're both first time a turn. So a lot of times in this matchup, you want to trash multiple things if you can. Yeah, it all comes down to the joust of the Tomorrow's Headline for sure. There's another unique with the same, totally. Yep. Yeah, so they could go ahead and res a second Malia, or technically a third Malia at this game state to trash the second Malia. They're drawing here. We have a Boomerang. If we click to draw once, we hit a Masterwork, then a Bravado. So we might have to draw twice here. 2 more servers. Again, we need to make sure we have enough money when we're accessing. The chance of one of these being a Sansan is actually pretty high. And we don't have Cloth Threat right now. And we used our Simul chip really aggressively. Again, this is not an easy matchup for this deck. So we have to kind of get lucky on R&D, which is a bit rough. Cards on the table. We're looking for a third Commercials Banker group. We've seen 2 Rashidas. We've seen 2 Mumbeds. Oh, they installed? Yeah, 2 Mumbeds probably. Maybe another Jeeves somewhere. I don't know what if they're on a kill package or not. We've seen no tag punishment, but again, we haven't ran HQ, which is usually where the tag punishment will hang out. So I'm going to do draw. We actually could clicklessly install this while running to draw our Bravado, but we need to play our Bravado. So we'll Bravado R&D. We have nothing to install here, unfortunately. So we'll just use Prognostic. So we see on the top is a Sports Hopper into a Sports Hopper. That actually is worth sometimes paying a credit to install off the top of our deck, because it is free largely. So we're going to break this, break the end of the run. Then we're going to use Prognostic Q Loop to pay a credit to install the Sports Hopper, which draws us a card, costs 2 less. So we have 2 Sports Hoppers. We have 2 Link. Breach Server. We can steal Blown. It's a Maryland campaign. Feels bad. Shuffle this in. 14 credits. If we crack this, we get 3 credits, but on its own is worth Link, which is quite nice. We could run again, but now if we're trash a card, we float a tag, which is bad. So I think we're just going to sure gamble. We could lose right here. We don't know the top card of the deck, so there's a 1 in 17 chance that we could pull out a Clot to thwart a win if they try to fast advance. We also need our breakers. We'll draw once more here. I think it's more important. We need to find our paperclip because we need to run HQ at some point. So we don't need this. Chances of us of installing the Mina are very, very low considering how close money is in this matchup. There's not that many end the run code gates they generally run, like maybe Enigma, a white space isn't technically end the run, or a toll booth, and we can boomerang all of those. So I'm going to go throw out the Mina. That being said, I would throw out an Abigail largely too. You feel a lot better throwing these out if you do have access to another clone chip. All right, they're not scoring out. They don't have the last 3-2. Again, our chances of losing is basically to the tomorrow's headline only, unless they have like some wild play involving a 5-3 that they leave on the table and then they score out with Jeeves or whatever. And like Jeeves and something. So it's all about finding that tomorrow's headline. And we could always go tag me and drop the Stargate. We're not too weak to exchange of information, but there's some other issues we'll have with that line of play for sure. Okay. It's all about that last Malia, huh? This draws us a lot. It's 3 cards, 3 credits. Pretty good. Do we need that more than the Link? I'm not sure, honestly. I don't know. We could run Service 17, install this for 3 credits. That's probably good. Let's just do everything we want to do. Because every run, you have so much value. We can Masterwork, install this for 3, drawing a card. We have a Boomerang, lock the top 2. It's Clot into Paperclip. So if we never draw, which of course we will, we can always threaten a Clot, which is a big deal. This is a Sansan. That's a Maryland campaign. Of course it is. We saw on the top. Okay, 11 credits. We have the Clot on top of the deck. So as soon as we Boomerang, we break that lock, which is an issue. We could always Boomerang, run R&D, get a single access, install the Clot with the Prognostic Q Loop, so it's on the table. If they purge it, we have no Clot, but at least we buy ourselves a turn, right? So let's do that. In terms of our credits, we're getting a bit low. So if we do sure gamble, the Link is pretty useless when they have 44 cards. 44 credits. It's not useless. You're right. It's kind of useless, isn't it? They will boost into most every trace. You're totally right. It is pretty useless. But we don't want to draw our Clot because we want to be able to install the Clot off the top of the deck. I think that'll be better click compression for us. You're right. The tracing is not a great use of our time. Maybe don't shuffle Boomerang. You're right. It's optional. I still think we do shuffle. We just install it. Oh, you're right, though. It's such a good win if they try and score and we pull out a Clot on the top of the deck. They should be boosting more aggressively. I think you're totally right. They have 1 billion credits. Okay. Our Paperclip's after the Clot too, which is nice. Sansan. Uh-oh. If we trash this, we do take a tag. Miss Bones also only allows you to use these credits to trash installed cards, so I guess they're going to draw that. We won't shuffle it. I don't think our opponent generally realizes when we do that. And the awkward thing here is we have to click for a credit, which is not great. But if they try and fast advance out with a Sansan Server 17, we're going to look really cute. Like really, really cute. It's just unlikely. Oh yeah, we knew what that is. So 15 or 16 could be a Sansan. They also are not drawing that Sansan. Second time it's happened where they shuffle with a Maryland. Yeah, Mizuki, I've never not shuffled. I've never not shuffled a boomerang in my life. Okay. Server 18 looks like they're pushing out. Might be a Sand. They could also just try and score a blown on the table. Asking if we have an action. They might hard hitting use us. Jeeves. They drew last click. Okay, so server 18 looks like it's a Sand on top of maybe a Mumbed Virtual Tour. It's not a grid, is it? No. So that's 10 credits to trash. Here we could pull the clot from the top of the deck. It's okay. It's fine. It's probably better than drawing it, honestly. It cost us 3 credits. It's a bit, but then we draw into a fresh card. I'm gonna do it. It's a shame. Sometimes this cute play like just wins you the game. We'll do that. Okay, so we only have 2 boomerangs now and 11 cards. Feels bad. We have a paperclip in hand. We have a revolver in hand. So if we sports hopper, the chance that we find what we need for this remote server is kind of high. Oh, that's ugly. So the boomerangs are 2 and 8. Okay, what do we do here? We have no way to get this in the bin, so we have to like commit to install this. You could have Q-looped the paperclip onto the table. Oh, that's technically true. Yeah, we could have done once on their turn, once on our turn. Yeah, you're totally right. We probably should have prognostic Q-looped on our turn. That being said, there's a 1 in 4 chance that we can Q-loop a boomerang with this thing. Is that 2 and 8 or 1 and 8? It's 2 and 8. How's it going? Yeah, we only have 1 in the bin. Oh no, it's 1 and 8. Because we trashed 1 on HQ. Yeah, huge. In the sense, yeah. No, it's worse than I thought. Oh, that's actually really ugly. So yeah, now we really wanted to prognostic this onto the table. We have the money. No, we definitely have the money. It's just we have limited money. Like eventually we're not going to have the money. Especially because this is going to be 10 credits for us to trash. And then we're going to take 2 tags. At least we have the flip switch, which we can install clicklessly. There's not a lot of sentries in this list. We could get blown out by like a tribunal or something super wild. But I'm expecting largely a turnpike. If we go ahead and bravado this, that's probably fine. So we'll do Masterwork first. Install this, drawing a card. Deuces Wild is also good to remove tags. Do Prognostic Q-Loop. Look at top 2 cards of stack. Diversion, Gamble. Okay, so we're not going to Prognostic on our turn. It's a toll booth. Hey, this is exactly where the Avignail gets a bit better. We have a 1 and 7 on the boomerang, but we're going to lose here. We can't deal with this. If you jack out, refund 3. Yeah, Getting to the point where you could float tags so you don't think they have boom. They haven't seen any influence. At this point, yeah, we will consider floating tags because there's a line of play here where we get into this remote and then we install like Stargate and run and win off of like a Bologna. The issue here is, do we jack out to save 3 credits? It's 1 and 7. I thought we had 2 boomerangs. That makes me really more want to shuffle the boomerang back into the deck. Okay, we have no way to break this besides a 1 boomerang and 7 cards. And we know the next 2 cards aren't boomerang. I think this is probably still worth it. Because we could jack out on approach and not lose the 3 credits on encounter. So that's a pretty big swing. No matter what, we'll be getting the bravado credits, which is pretty funny. Mutual favor doesn't do anything because we don't have a breaker here. Deuces Wild will draw 2 known cards. And then in theory, we could run and just hope. Like after Deuces Wild, we could do a 1 in 5 to just boomerang off the top of the deck, which would be really cute. We could also consider just trashing the Jeeves. Because there's a chance that they need the Jeeves and the Bologna. Like if this is a Jeeves, Bologna, Sansan City grid, they need the Jeeves to score it. So trashing the Jeeves is also like a consideration. So we'll just let this fire and I think we'll just trash the Jeeves. And just hope. Just pray. We have no way to generate value doing this. No, we'll just run server 15. We could also like consider getting a Paul up down, but it's hard. It's hard. And again, Amina for 7 or Abigail for 4 still very difficult in this. No. We could actually, no, we won't draw. You can deuces to run to remove the tag. Oh, I forgot. Actually, yeah, we probably want to deuces R&D last click. Yeah. No. No. Yeah, we'll definitely remove the tag. I think we need to draw cards though, because if we can't get to a boomerang, we're in a really bad spot. I'm super surprised they're not boosting this trace, because this actually gives us flexibility. Why are they not boosting this trace? They have 42 credits. Because here we have a click left. We can always Stargate R&D and then flip switch the tag, or we can dig deeper into our deck. Interesting. We could also Deuces Wild to run. I still think there's a chance that we lose on server 18 if they have a 4-2 or something. There's a Clot on the table, which helps if it's a Sansan and they're just holding something in hand if they don't want to score the Bologna. Deuces Wild too. If we hit R&D and we hit like what's it called off the top, Tomorrow's Headline's a bit awkward. They haven't daily business showed, so everything they draw is like volatile in hand. Like they didn't filter it all. What do we do here? I think we Deuces for card draw. No, we Deuces for tag, run, credit. You can still clear if you hit headline. Well, we have 2 tags, so no, not unless we Deuces. Switch will clear 1, right, with the headline, but we already have one when it gone. So we'd have to like Deuces. We have to run with Deuces to be able to get the tag, right? So I just don't know whether we run with Deuces. I'm thinking about it, right? Like maybe we do just run with Deuces. It's like playing around a 1 in 15. Like it's not great. I think we'll take the risk. If we hit a Tomorrow's Headline off the top of R&D, that's on us. But it's unlikely. I don't think you're running Quantum Kitty, which is a reason why you'd want to clear the tag before you access. At this point, we might as well. Spin Doctor. If we trash that, we take a tag. So I'm not going to do that. If they draw that, it's like not the worst. We have no more breakers in our deck. Mutual Favor shuffles the deck because you can fail to find an icebreaker, which is interesting because we know we don't need the next 2 cards. Kind of interesting, honestly. I feel like Diversion of Funds is less useful. But having shuffle effects is actually kind of good. We could lose right here easily. Another option is to get the political operative down. That's a Spin Doctor. Okay, so they're drawing into something. And again, we could just like run R&D heavy. Oh, it's already news last click. They found their 3rd one. Shit. So I think at this point we have to float tags and hopefully we win this turn. So Trace 15 will take the tags. So we could clear the tags and they put a card in server 18. Okay. Okay. One last thing. We're close to middle territory now. They have 1 more Spin Doctor. We're going to lose before anyone runs out of cards. I think that's for sure. Because server 18 is likely to be an agenda. On top of a Sansan. Now on top of a Mumbed virtual tour. So if it's a Bologna, they can score it out. They would need a Jeeves. So we don't know what server 16 is. Spin Doctor, maybe it's actually an agenda and I'm MVT on top of it. The Spin Doctor means the Stargate plan is actually quite bad. We could clear the tags. We could Deuces Wild, clear 3 tags. Again, our money is very limited. This is not a Rizeki deck. It's not a pad tab deck. Like we have bursts of economy, which makes the CTM matchup like quite volatile because they have good windows. Like they do capitalize on us. Like we have burst economy, but then we run out of economy. We know the next cards on our deck are Diversion to Sure Gamble, I believe in that order. We can't really clicklessly draw with Prognostic or Masterwork. So we might have to just like commit to the tags and hope we don't die. With 4 tags, it means IP blocks on centrals are going to end the run, definitely. And they definitely have 3 IP blocks in the deck. I'd be surprised otherwise. We have to get through 2 cards. Like we could do this for cards as a start. We have to run Trash Spin Doctor, and then we have to like Stargate. Our turn has to be run Spin Doctor, Stargate, run. That is a perfect way we win. Is if we run the Spin Doctor trash or they pop the Spin Doctor, then we, what's it called? Then we Stargate R&D, see a Bologna and see 3-2 specifically, which is really unlikely. I think that's our narrowest chance of winning. I think that's the narrowest we have. And if we float tags, we lose no matter what. Like either Psychographics, Exchange doesn't lose, but Boom will definitely lose. I think that's what we have. Chad, do you have anything smarter? I feel like we have to do that. I don't think we have a line. They didn't discard any cards, so not like Polop HQ Trash Spin Doctor is like a thing. I think that's all we have. Oh, I wonder if leaving their economy up was wrong. Seems like it kind of caught up with us, but I don't know how we would have done it. I think we just have to hope, right? Okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to trash this. Prognostic Paperclip. I don't know why I keep saying Paperclip. That's definitely not right. Just access 5 off centrals, easy peasy. Yo, Sanjay, how's it going? You don't have enough clicks? We do. We have 3. Oh, you're right. We don't. Oh, you're right. We don't have enough clicks, do we? Because we have to install this, run. Oh, yeah. I think your line was click short. If you Stargate second click, get Stargate 1 and 1 run, you can't steal 2 agendas. Yeah, no, you're right. We're at a click short. Why didn't I math that out right? Because we have to install the Stargate, and then we have 2 runs, one being a Stargate run and one being a pickup run. We have no multi-access. Like, we have no way to access 2 cards. So now the Stargate doesn't play into it. Now we have to just like run R&D. They shuffled in Hard Hitting News and Malia's Loka. So we could still run R&D and see a couple cards. The good thing is like a lot of their cards are trashable cards, which means that if you do have money, you can run multi-X and see a lot of cards. So in theory, we need like, I don't know, we need to run at least twice. We need to have at least 7 credits. So 2 breaks and a steal a Bologna. So that leaves us with 6 credits. That's enough to steal another Bologna. Okay. There's also a small chance that we boomerang, but we're going to lose to the tags sooner than anything else. So we have to win off of R&D if anything. So if we do Stargate, I saw Stargate. We have one more. No, we can't do it. So I think we deuces, right? Deuces gets us nothing really. Nothing really. I think your line was a click short. Yeah, it was. It really was. I think we just go for it. Like if we hit a thing off the top of the deck that isn't agenda or trashable, like our line on R&D is over. So deuces for drawn, hope for boomerang. Unfortunately, Floofy, we know the next 2 cards. They're 2 events. Banker's Group. Okay, we can trash that. Take a tag. So we can still have a chance. We have to hit 2 agendas, so nothing really to do here. AR? Okay. So there's no 4-point agenda. No 4-point agenda. I wonder if the right play was like run R&D, mutual favor to shuffle the deck so that we have like a 1 in 7 chance to boomerang off the top of server 18. There's a small chance that was the right play, is actually to shuffle your deck. So we could run back, and again, we won't win. If we steal a Bologna, we'll actually lose to exchange, but I'm pretty sure we lose to server 18 anyways. So there's no way to win unless there's 2 cards on archives. So we'll check archives. I don't think we're missing anything here, are we? Pray to gods NVN has a government takeover. Yeah, there technically was a 4-point agenda at some point. Vanity Project. All right, psychographics they threw out. Wow, and an IP block they threw out, which kind of makes sense. We have tags. But that's probably it. Good game. Oh, they have another one. Good game. So there was the Bologna on top of server 18. So we did stop the Sansan into Bologna into Jeeves. Very close. So yeah, I think we called that right. Our credits were a bit shy. Their credits were really, really, really kind of getting away. Like maybe we could have done something about it. I still think it's quite hard. This is the sort of idea where you play this deck and like this sort of matchup, just having consistent economy would be quite good. Like things like you see a lot of things that are not in this deck because it doesn't work with the shell. Like Rozekis are probably playable in this deck. Maybe you can do that instead of Deuces Wild. You have issues with that. Like I think playing just a Citadel Sanctuary might do so much for this matchup that is probably worth considering. Because I think the CTM matchup is one of the hardest. This is the match that we did lose in the Store Championship this weekend, playing this exact deck minus the Mina. But it's quite tough because our economy is not consistent. Sitsank is technically a trashable card. Yeah, technically. For what it's worth, if you ever have to trash it, you're in dire straits. So you're hoping not to, but it's value for sure. Hey Ezra, it's going good. How are you doing? I think maybe if you trash their econ and installed the back, you might have been able to outlast them. It's a tough matchup. For what it's worth, Burden, I don't think the back would have been the play. Because like what the back does, it shuffles cards back into your deck. And like the amount of time we had, it really wouldn't matter unless we were shuffling in like just 2 fermenters and then we get the fermenters down. But you saw how many of our turns we had like things to do where we didn't have clicks to like just draw, right? And we were at the point where we had 7 cards left in our stack and we needed some of these. Like we were trying to draw for the boomerangs. We were trying to draw for the gambles. I do think that the turn where we boomeranged HQ for value was probably very wrong. I do think the turn 2 turns ago where we could have prognostic twice, once for the clot, once for the paperclip, so we could draw a bit deeper, also would have been correct. Because it didn't come down to the credits, it came down to the click compression. Yeah. So there's a lot of like, man, the ceiling of this deck is totally very, very quite high. This is definitely a tricky matchup though. I feel like if you get lucky with the missed bones in an early setup, and we got our tech traders pretty early, we're in an okay spot. I lose most of my games against CTM, but I lose all my games against CTM when I left them to have money. It's like, so yeah, to some extent, yes. Like we got hard hitting news 3 times and the 3rd time was the one that buried us. That is totally true because our money did run out at that point, but I think they would have done it anyways. But that being said, like not a lot of CTM decks are modernly running 3 hard hitting news. I don't know if they recycled any of them. A lot of them are running 2. So you kind of have to play the odds. They did open up really aggressively, but they got 2 hard hitting news in the top like 15 cards, which I think feels a bit bad without a daily business show. So it is what it is. CTM and Acme are hell on earth as Palantir, though. I don't think Acme's that bad. Yeah, Acme's probably not great. Holding it for like 10 turns. I was being pretty conservative with that last HHN. Oh, nice. That's you. So, because you wouldn't know it was the last one, holding it for like 10 turns. Wait, what? I don't know. Not literally, but wait, I'm super confused. Were we playing against you? I had in hand for a long time to avoid. I had no HHN. Oh, interesting. Okay. I was CCM. Okay, cool. Cool. Well, that's the sort of matchup. That's the sort of deck. I don't think that's it's like one of the harder archetypes because again, we talked about the bankroll thing, and maybe bankroll is exactly what you need in that matchup, but it can be pretty difficult, right? To be a run-based deck and then deal with decks that can punish you heavily for running. So it's kind of tricky. That being said, now that we're running a lot, that's when we're doing all our magic. Like we're doing our triggers on everything, which is quite cool. It's quite nice. And having extra run-based money, which is good. Your deck there seems to have become pretty popular in JNet recently, so I've had some practice in that matchup. That's cool to know. Like I've played against this deck very, very little. But I'm interested to see how you play against it and what people do. Sebastian K is also a good Az player, which is great. Cool. Okay, that's the deck list of the week. Big fan of this deck. Definitely try it out. There's a lot of options, a lot of triggers, but it's really fun, especially when it gets rolling. You do feel like you're in control, especially if you get to that beautiful late game where it just boomerangs off the top of the deck, which we didn't get to see, but it's hard to get in that matchup. That matchup matters a heck of a lot. Clot Q loop is annoying when it happens. Yeah, we were setting it up. I was hoping that you'd play into it because we one turn decided not to draw just so we could set it up. And you saw in that matchup, like we aggressively simul-chipped. To some extent, I want to put another simul-chip into this deck because it works so well with like, obviously the clots, but it works really well with fermenters. It works well with the revolvers to some extent, but you're not using this that often, I find. And it works really well with the bringing back your breakers, even Abigail or Amina. Here you have a cool splash screen. Yo, have you heard about this? Hold on. It says it's on, but it's, oh, that's it. It's definitely my favorite standard runner deck. Hey, Burn, glad to hear it. Surprised you discarded Amina with simul-chip dead. I thought you wouldn't have a backup if you did. Yeah, nice. We goofed it up. I thought I had two, what's it called? Boomerangs in the deck. I forgot that I burned one on HQ a bit foolishly. So that was our way to deal with the toll booth is the boomerang. Like I don't want to install Amina for 7 credits ever in that matchup. We cannot afford it. And then even then you're breaking toll booth for 7 credits. Like it's not great. Like spending 14 credits to break a toll booth once. No, thank you. When you can boomerang it for 5 and then gain money back. So I don't think you install Amina in that matchup in any way, unless it's like a deck that runs 3 macrophage, but even then you can trace through it. So Vale's running a GNK tomorrow for any APAC peeps or anyone willing to go sleep. Jazz, let me pull that up. Oh, hold on, I copy pasted more than. Yeah, we got some news. We have some news. APAC Jinteki.net GNK 2022 Q1 game night kit prizes. This is online GNK's channel, NISEI events Discord. So if you're watching from APAC, this is tomorrow. So hopefully you're watching live. 10 a.m. AEST, Saturday, June 25th. So technically 2 days for me, but in a day for Australia. That's really cool. Vale has been running fantastic tournaments for a really long time. So Vale has a lot of experience running tournaments. I've no doubt this is going to be great, but do check that out. This is the game night kit for Q1. I haven't seen these cards yet. I think someone in Montreal has ordered a kit. I just haven't seen these in person. The Afshar is quite nice. It's a good card. If I knew you didn't have a decoder, I couldn't really do anything about it because other code gates installed already though. But could be an issue versus other CTMs. CTMs in terms of code gates, like what? Sometimes you see a white space, you see a toll booth, maybe you see an Enigma, but like just about all of that dies to boomerang. So your opponent has to really intelligently figure that out, cause you to trash your decoder, and then do Enigma into toll booth, and you can still deal with it if you have a boomerang on top of your deck and have a boomerang installed. So, oh, Magnet. Yeah, you're right. Magnet does show up in some of them. That's true. It does help with the alliance. But yeah, I'm not too worried about installing a decoder against CTM. And again, use that to your advantage for sure. Okay. News. We have a fair bit of news. Firstly, oh yeah, I guess we'll talk about this a bit. We had, what's it called? There's a bit of a story here, but we had a circuit opener at Silver Goblin. Last week on the Friday night, it was actually the pre-release for a Flesh and Blood set, a new Flesh and Blood set. And I haven't gone out to play Flesh and Blood since like, I don't know, February, maybe March. So I went down to Silver Goblin and it was pouring rain. I still went because I was really excited to play. And it was 48 people. It was crazy. It was so many people. It was packed. And we played an Uprising pre-release. And so it's sealed. You open packs, you build things. It was really fun. I had a great time. Hey, Baza, happy Thursday. How you doing? And so then we went back the next day because there was a circuit opener. Originally, I wasn't meant to play the circuit opener. I was meant to be an Oracle for the king, but he had to pull out at the last minute, so I didn't know what to play. I had my Amina, or technically not the Amina, I had the Abigail, what's it called, Az deck that I've been playing at the last event there, and then I didn't know what to play as a corp. I didn't have a deck sleeved up. The Reality Plus deck I played before, I didn't love it too much. It was fun, but I had disassembled it. The deck that I had sleeved up for Brandon, I didn't like so much. Like, it wasn't my style, so I didn't want to play it. So I didn't know what to do. So I sleeved up something at the last minute, and I ended up sleeving together a Polana Foods list that is just grinder. It's pure grinder. And I don't know if y'all know about this sort of archetype that's existed in Netrunner for a while now, but a lot of people don't play it or have think it's not good. But the idea with this sort of deck is I think it's pretty toxic in terms of like a fun play experience for your opponent. But the idea is that you ice up all centrals with all the spikiest cards, all the spikiest ice that does the most net damage, and then you just sit back and do nothing. You never build a remote server, and you fast advance from hand if they don't run. You have cards like Shipment from Tenon. I never know how many ends are in Tenon. And you score 3-1 or 3-2 agendas from hand, and eventually they run out of cards, and you put an Obokata protocol on the table, and they can't score it. It worked really well. I built my deck over the night, last night, the night before I came home pretty late, and I built it, and I had a great time playing it. A lot of the turns you have to play really quick. It's just like install game 2, install game 3. Like, your turns take a second. I don't think my opponents had as much fun. I don't know if we want to show the list. What do you think about AG Grinder versus Polana? Personally, I think Ag is a bit more interesting on either side, but I don't know about strength. I find Cody just didn't think you were Scumlord. Massive Scumlord. It was really quite fun. And I want to do more testing with that sort of list. I don't want to share my list because I don't want people to play this thing. If you want to really see it, honestly, I'll show you for sure. But am I wild to think that we could maybe play Kalagoda Real TV in these grinder decks? Because this is one influence. It's 0 to res. If the runner doesn't run it, you trash a good card. If they do run it, you trash any card. And you can just recur these. Maybe you should just play more Amors, but I'm kind of on this boat. Like, I don't know if I'm really on some hot stuff. How's it going, Cody? In terms of Ag Infusion versus Polana, I like Polana a fair bit because of the free money. Everyone draws, so you get the money regardless because they need to draw in the matchup. It's bad into pad tap, but you're the kind of deck that can trash pad tap and just click for 2 credits. Ag Infusion's a bit trickier because you generally want to res all your ice, and more importantly, you want to keep face down ice a lot of times to be able to deal with Hippo. Like, you can't let your Kakugos, you can't let your what's it called, Anansis get hippoed. So your ice placement is really important. It's true that it has some good matchups, like you can deal with diversion, you can deal with that, I guess, but inherently you have so many upgrades, you have so much spiky ice that like the benefit of Ag Infusion, shutting down like deep dives and like run events and Stargate, stuff like that, you already have that built in a fair bit with the deck. So I'm not sure you need Ag Infusion unless you can really do something cute with the last influence. I remember those lists with Tenon Institute. Oh, Jeff, I've never seen those in Tenon Institute. A lot of times they were like in either Personal Evolution or technically Potential Unleashed. Classically was the competitive archetype that's been banned. I want Econ enough to play Ankuza again. Kalagoda Spin Doctor Weave Alliance for Salem's. Yeah, Plywood. I think you could do something. I do think just like on a turn where you're not doing anything, Archive Memory is Kalagoda credit is like good enough because no matter what, they lose a card from it. Lore that totally does not relate. When they say Tenon, they mean some Jinteki operations base that means heaven, right? Similar to Wayland and the Kaguya base. I don't actually know the lore or the like what the word Tenon means, but I know Tenon exists on Mars. The Tenon Institute is on Mars, right? Because I was a card before. I'm not sure it's obvious what they do at the Tenon Institute, but I don't know what the word Tenon mean. Does it mean heaven? Why is Tenon shipping themselves? What is Kaguya? Kaguya is like the Wayland one. Shipment from Kaguya came out in the core set, right? Grinder decks. Yeah, people don't like it. I do think that archetype is probably still alive for better or for worse. I do think that opponents, it's a deck that you really need to learn how to play against. And I do think some opponents knew a bit more than others. Because if you play poorly into it and like you draw through your deck too heavy, like it's a nightmare. Like it gets really, really bad. So I want to see how that deck does in a wider field to see how it goes. But hey, we took it. And the Az lost one game, which was a CTM game. It was a very sloppy game. My opponent was more than charitable with takebacks and allowing me to not goof up. But the Jinteki did not lose. Okay. That's that. Next thing. What the fuck is this? I honestly didn't know about this, and Pat messaged me, hey man, would you believe me if I said there's fan fiction about us? the pick win. What the heck? What is this? This showed up in our Netrunner. You can read it. It's called The Heart of the Agendas, and it's a pretty long enough write-up, which is largely a translation of Season 1, Episode 1 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show on Fox 4 Kids television, involving me as the villain, Seto Kaiba, and Patrick Jr. as Yugi himself. Honestly, it was very, very, very funny. Pat is correct in the comments that I feel very hurt that you made me the villain, but I do think, yeah, it makes sense. This was very, very funny. Now I'm going to have to figure out how to remember quotes from this, and Pat and I will do the voiceover at some point. But what the heck is this? Tenin means our spiritual being in Japanese, essentially the Japanese equivalent of angels. Kaguya usually implies lunar bases in context because it has moon princes and folktales. Oh, super cool. Thought there's gonna be no stream this week. What did I miss? Thanos, how's it going? So did I. But for better for worse, holiday plans were moved. We had to rearrange them. So normally we were not meant to be in town. So we are not gonna be in town a bit later. So we're still in town. So I thought I might as well do the stream, even though I said I wouldn't. Which maybe that's weird. I don't know. I don't know what was better to do. Like if I could do a stream, or if you said you weren't gonna do stream, stick to that so people don't feel bad for missing it. Or I don't know. How's it going, by the way? Anyways, this is really weird. Project Nisei tweeted this: as of the 11th, we will start with Midnight Sun previews. That is only in like 2.5 weeks, give or take. Let me hide my face for a second. This art comes with no context. It looks to be somebody. They have either a diving suit or a mining suit. It does look like they're up north. You can tell because they're wearing a beanie. Or a toque, as we call it here. And they have a little pupper in that basket back there, which I didn't want my face to hide. This is really cool art. No context whatsoever. A lot of blue makes me think it's a criminal card. This artist, if I'm not mistaken, is Janet. Oh, it's hard to read it. Oh, here it is. Brusselbach. I'm assuming this is the same artist. The style looks very similar. The sort of like painterly, kind of like soft, I'm going to say watercolors, but I'll expose my ignorance a bit. And I think Janet has only done criminal cards. I don't know if Nisei's going to stick to that. Oh, that's not true at all. Never mind. I'm assuming that's the same artist, but they didn't say, did they? On TV and Grindr, my friend and I have been brewing Builder Nations for a while. We saw it on TV. Sebastian, Builder Nations is such like a sore thorn in my side. I can never make that deck work. Our deck is painful to play and painful to play against. That's the idea. You're doing it right. Kinds of reminds me of the prawn suit from Subnautica. Catherine, I've never gotten enough into Subnautica for how cool that game is. How's it going? It's really cool. I think there's a lot of theme and lore. This does look like a house somewhere up above the Arctic Circle, which is largely what we're doing here. Whether that's our new runner or not, they're wearing that sort of design on their sweater is the sort of thing you'd see on like Icelandic or Nordic knitwear, which is super cool. They're tinkering on some sort of like biopod. It looks like somebody could go into this. This is really cool. I'm excited to see what this is and to see more. And I have no doubt we'll see soon, especially who the heck is this little good boy or girl? Hey, yeah, I'm the new custom card thread guy. Anyone have any ideas, requests, or feedback? Ezra, on r/Netrunner? Because I think I saw the custom card thread the other day. I don't remember what it was. This looks like hardware, maybe? It kind of does look like hardware, but I feel like the person is getting a bit more attention than the hardware itself. That being said, a lot of times Nisei will crop certain parts of the images. Like the person, the subject is small in the large scene. So there's a chance that the crop in is the art itself. There's a chance that this is like a resource, like again, Bachlan Botchkin or the back, which is a person in a situation. I don't think this is obviously the runner ID. They're generally standing at a distance, but yeah, maybe it's just hardware. It's just, the color focus in this screams the person, right? With all the nice reds on the wild blue background. Dermaglyphic, how's it going? Nero, how's it going? Dog is the runner, person's the connection. Yeah, that's what I believe. This is always like these little things. I'm gonna hold on. I'll just hide my face for a second. All these little things on the table to figure out whether these are references or not. Like whether we've seen this kit. Because on some of the other stuff, you do see like simul chips hanging around and like little bits of Netrunner lore, which is fantastic. But yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know whether we're gonna see a runner in the suit, whether the suit is a part of the theme. But of course, we're excited. Pet runner, Colin. My money's on the Shaper with the diving suit and deep dive. Hardware seems right. I'd be so surprised if a card with this much blue is a Shaper card. I'd be very surprised. I do not know if there's any truth to that, or whether we're so used to seeing like criminal cards in a blue frame that like colors it in our head. I don't know. More likely Ollie Bolador. Do you think this is Ollie? Wait, actually, yeah, maybe it is. How do you say, what's the artist tag? Hold on. I'd be really upset if I said this was someone else than it wasn't. Maybe it is Ollie. Let me check. Ollie did like Bass. Ollie did the Biotic Labor alt, right? Yeah. Is this Ollie? I don't know. Maybe? I don't know. This looks more painted than like you see those sort of like soft kind of like lines? But this is like digitally painted, right? I don't know if Ollie does that. I guess they do, yeah. Shit, now you're making me doubt everything. Now this is Ollie's like more modern style, like the fire, and I feel like these look kind of different. I do feel like tonally these look a bit different. And by tonally, I mean in terms of the art, in terms of like the style. It could be. I don't know. That's another mystery now. We'll see. Are there any archetypes in the game that you hope get a boost with Midnight Sun? Majesty. Yes and no. It depends on what format you're talking about, like startup versus standard. Startup is just like missing a lot of archetypes inherently. There's not too much to do with tags. That's better for worse. I feel like in startup, I think there's an issue right now in startup where almost all the decks are just like economy over time engines, and I don't love that. I want things to be punchy and like burstier, which seems to be what's happening. We're having more haymakers, less credit every turn thing. In terms of archetypes itself, that's kind of hard. Criminal D-Res archetype, I think, is usually toxic. I don't want to see that. Criminals feeling like criminals archetype, I think we're getting closer to that with guns and stuff like that. But that's a really hard question. Shit, I don't even know. What do y'all think? Is this the cybernetic they teased? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I still think this has to be the person. Like, they're not even showing what they're working on. This is location or resource. That's what I think, Skip on. I think this is like the back. This is like the resource location person combo. Startup is losing ashes though. Yes. So we'll redefine the meta standard. Anything but more lockdown support. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna see more lockdown support. But yeah, no, it's true. Ashes is rotating, so startup will be different. But I think we're just close enough to getting a Nisei only format. Other news: Nisei 2022 World Championship tickets, lodging, and events. So I want to see some bans. Yeah, I would be fine for like pad tap. Like I want to see a shakeup in the meta. That's going to happen regardless, whether they unban or ban stuff. But like I'm tired of pad tap. Let me tell you. They put this out. Worlds is this year in this October in Toronto, in Canada, in Ontario, in Canada. So if you want to get lodging, they have a block at the Sheraton Centre Hotel, which is like really downtown in Toronto. The blocks are open. There are 100 rooms blocked for each night, except the 9th, which is only 75. Sorry. You can register this. I'd do it sooner than later. Events, you can purchase tickets. Crown of servers. Do y'all know what this is? Because they don't really talk about what it is that much. But let me tell you, this thing is kind of incredible. And then there's the main events. And then there's actually standard and startup cuts. There's all-day gunslinging. There will be other things as well. But basic idea is if you can get tickets now, probably should. And if you want to book your rooms at the Sheraton, you can. Of course, you don't have to stay at the Sheraton if you don't want to. Now, Nisei has put this block out, so they need to fall at least over 85% occupancy. So take that as you will. Some people will get lodging somewhere else. Some people do like bigger houses so they can have more people together. Do what you will. Of course, Nisei does need to move some of these. And there is a huge benefit of being like down the hall from the event itself, let me tell you, as opposed to like having to travel and do all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Worlds in Toronto, Jeff. They've been trying to do this for a couple of years, but the pandemic has just always pushed it back. Reprint Gagarin? Ah, nice. Come on. My favorite deck archetype has always been Glacier, but I keep checking back in, and it doesn't seem like many decks want to install multiple ice in a single server. Yeah, Majesty, you can still do it. Like, I think Jinja is kind of the home of that archetype, but it's largely not just Glacier. It's like Tower. I don't love that archetype. Like, just seeing what the Corp can jam any ice on a remote server, it just doesn't seem like anyone's making smart decisions there. That's largely me. I would like to see more of the sort of mid-range like HB kind of stuff, which we're actually not that far away from, but like the 2015 2014 like HB mid-range engineering the future decks where it's like we're going to put up assets that generate money and then a remote server, and then with an upgrade push a thing, and there'll be like 2 ice on every server. We're not exactly there. We're going a bit faster, so the ice is not as thick as it used to be back there, but we're pretty close. Hey, Dan, as a started player, I don't know how I feel about losing ashes yet. I think we do need a Nisei only format. I hear you, Dan, on that. I feel like the amount of cards in the card pool is like there's always something to be said about a card pool having being like very approachable, right? Like the idea is that when the new Midnight Sun comes out, 65 cards come out, we are going to be losing 120 cards when the whole Ashes cycle, or 130 cards, whatever it is, when the whole Ashes cycle rotates. So it's going to actually be a smaller format. That's obviously good for people, bringing people into the game. So you only have to know like 30 Anarch cards instead of like 50 or whatever. But I do think the smaller the card pool is, the more samey a lot of decks are going to be. Unless the card pool is that creative and that interesting that you can kind of like transcend that issue. But largely, to some point, a smaller card pool homogeneity happens. Like if there's only 50 Anarch cards, like maybe 20 of them are going to be bad. So the rest of your deck is done, you know? But I hear you. I feel like Nisei would be closer to a Nisei only format to see how that goes. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens to start it. 11 out of 10 times if I left a pad tab lying around over one turn, it cascades into 10 credits for the runner. So yeah, you can go away from the next ban list. Yeah, I was only meant to be back for a while. What of our current decks will be strongest at Midnight Sun? We've no idea. I'm guessing Steve will be very good. Yeah, no matter what happens, Steve will be okay. Jinteki is a pest. Does Nisei only get crowdfunding in it? No. Any of the, like, the only cards that are in startup or Nisei only, I'm assuming won't be any of the FFG cards that they reprinted, besides the one they officially reprinted. Not the Worlds cards, I mean. So you're not going to see like Border Control, crowdfunding, Slot Machine, that stuff. I think you're only going to see like the Nisei releases. So like Ashes, Midnight Sun system, Gateway system update, stuff like that. I think Nisei's change in designers is probably the key driver of getting rid of Ashes so soon. Rotating the stuff you didn't design is the most expedient way of getting format with coherent design perspective. Yeah, Macaroni, but that's not like going to touch Standard. I mean, Standard's still like a really big format. It's probably always going to be a really big format, considering currently the majority of prize support or like organized plays in that format. But I hear you. Finally found a use of our Hakarl, which is to turn the Ansel ganked board wipe combo into an Ansel Ravana Hakarl gank kill combo. Yeah, winning on. I've heard of that. I still today have not rezzed a Hakarl in person, and I don't know what it's going to take for me to be excited about it. I'm excited for extra click stuff for runners and startup. Excited to at least one card to go with deep dive. Who knows? Yeah, Connor, they said it would come. They said we'll get a cybernetics that gives you an extra click. Deep dive on its own, even without anything, has been proving potent enough. But just getting one card, as long as that card is not like terrible on its own, like if you're not deep diving for the first 10 turns, you're definitely going to see it. I think it's going to be a good time to switch, play a bit of new startup to learn Midnight Sun and start learning standard card pool. Oh, electric for sure. When it comes out, we're going to be talking and playing probably startup first. I don't know what we're going to do. It's not really planned, but we'll be doing both formats for sure. Aaron, team cat or team dog? Oh, don't make me do this. I live with a cat and she's lovely and we get on great. I prefer a very small startup format because it makes it a very clear delineation. Startup is what you learn to get your toes wet, but standard is for the flagship. I think a Nisei only format would be really split the play base with standard in a bad way. I hear you. There's always an option. Like there's always the fear of splitting the player base, which is like a terrible thing to do. But the way I see, I don't know, the way I see it doesn't matter. But like, if I think a learning thing, you want to learn, I would just say system gateway and a system update is great. And then as soon as you go bigger than that, like Nisei startup, I don't know. But I hear you. I totally hear you. But like maybe there's going to be enough people getting into Netrunner that want a slightly bigger card pool that issue is going to solve itself. Team Space Kitten. I wanted to hit up Nisei and be like, hey, how about you just show me the art of a card? A spoiler card that nobody gets to spoil or whatever. Just a card. I don't care. And I'll just draw the art, or likely Maddie will draw the art. I did not draw that. Maddie drew that. She's lovely. And then we won't talk about it, and we'll ignore it the whole time through spoilers. We won't know what it's attached to, and then see if anyone notices. Who knows? Problem with standards that a lot of people can't get the cards. Oh, Dan, it's a huge problem. I know Nisei's always allows proxies, but it's still pretty big barrier to entry. It's a huge barrier of entry. And like Nisei eventually will be in a Nisei only standard format in a couple of years, which obviously is a long time away, but I hear you. Standard is like massively unapproachable, even while proxies make it more approachable. I know a lot of people will not proxy, for better or for worse. Online worlds, online events, Jinteki.net events do help that barrier of entry, but no, you're not wrong. Proxying is still a lot of effort. It's going to get easier with things like the Katara project, which are like fan projects that you can order, like the Katara cycle from Make playing cards. I think stuff like that is going to help a heck of a lot. But yeah, you're right. It's a fair bit of work. If OP aggressively starts cutting down standard size, then we can get to space where standard can be 2-3 cycles larger. Can be 2-3 cycles large, excuse me. Yeah. And again, there is a like Oh man, I've been having conversations about this recently, but the issue is like I want a small. Everyone wants a small card pool, but then you need a small card pool that still like facilitates a large play space. And I'm getting a bit nervous that we're not getting there because currently, even with the largest card pool we have right now, like 90% of Anarchs, Criminals, and Shapers play the same thing, right? Like it's every deck is still 70% the same cards, and I don't know if a smaller card pool is going to fix that. This leaves the problem that jumps to standard still feeling very intimidating. Like, oh, it's so intimidating. I play startup, but I was a little disappointed that startup wasn't going to be Nisei only. Yeah, Aaron, I was surprised by that too. You can just say Team Cat Andre is the correct answer. Anyways, I think the better way to get to Nisei only would just to speed up standard rotation. Yeah, I don't know if they have any plans for that, but technically, like obviously the faster you rotate, the faster you'll get people in. I'm sad LCGs can't really have a pre-release event like TCGs. Playing late night and building decks from your sealed pool was a ton of fun when I played MTG. Catherine, we did the sealed like pre-release for Flesh and Blood this weekend or this past week with 50 players, 48 players. It was wild. I think it was the biggest pre-release in Canada. But yeah, just the excitement, the fun, learning all the cards. There is some cool aspects of like that sort of release structure, which I don't largely like. Like I understand the idea for startup being the current set. Yeah. I want to Trace tag kill to stay in though, and Nisei doesn't like Trace. Nisei doesn't like Trace, but Nisei is correct. Nisei doesn't like Trace where the Trace is irrelevant on its own, like it's just a money war, as opposed to cards where the Trace matters. Like cards like if you haven't played, what's it called? Mid-seasons. Like these are the kind of cards that I think Nisei would closer reprint, where it's Trace, but then it's not just a binary result. And I think they're right. That's way more interesting. It's very right, because otherwise cards could just have cost X as opposed to involving Trace largely. That's wrong. Not wrong. There's no Eternal Worlds. Jeff, there might be. There probably will be a side event. Again, there's going to be more stuff announced. There's also stuff you can run or people can run. So I wouldn't worry that you can't find an Eternal game of Worlds. Yeah, Punitive is the closest you have. Rotating 130 or 297 cards is wild. I said this too about rotation before. It's like, this is going to get different the more rotations we have, but like rotating Order and Chaos is really meaningful for Anarchs. For Wayland, it doesn't really matter for the majority of cards. There's like 50 Wayland cards and 7 of them see competitive play, consistent competitive play, right? So like while the rotation number seems wild, I think the active play pool that you can interact with doesn't shrink anywhere near as much as that number kind of suggests. That being said, this is in the eyes of someone who tries to play like standard competitive Netrunner, who wants to like make their decks of a good enough tier generally, as opposed to someone who's like, oh, I'm gonna make a satellite grid deck. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those people are gonna lose a lot more cards than I am. It's rough either way. People really want an all killer no filler card pool. And Ezra, for what it's worth, like System Gateway is largely that. It's all killer no filler, but I hear you. Small card pool times n factions equals large card pool. Yeah, technically. Yeah, there's always gonna be some filler. Like, hey, we can sell hardware from a car or a bus or whatever it is. Standard's intimidating, though it stops being so when you spend like a week reading all the cards and proceed to realize most of them are useless. Yep. Yeah, Mizuki. The amount of playables versus unplayables is way different than Nisei. And that comes down to them not wanting to do it like that. But again, like us valuing playable cards is like to a lot of people irrelevant who just want cards to play with. So I get it. Trace has a place. They reprinted Punitive. It's like the only Trace in all of System Update, isn't it? Just about it. Smash the gender Trace binary. I really love a solid draft cube setup. Oh, Brad, how's it going? Draft is really fun. Netrunner draft is fun. Netrunner sealed, if you don't know about A&R sealed, is really fun too. I do wish we played more in alternate play spaces because there's some really good stuff out there. Cool aspects of release structure I don't like. Hard agree. I want the randomized limited card pools without all the anti-consumer practices. It's really hard out there to try and get the best of both worlds. Like boosters make sense for a lot of play experiences. The problem is like I don't want to buy boosters, so I'm not buying boosters if I just want to get cards. Are there plans for side events online for those who can't make it? I don't know, Wayne. That's a good question. I don't know if I said hello. When it comes to the issue that too many runner cards are shared between decks, that's because a significant amount of runner economy is rooted in neutrals. But it's not only that, like rooted in neutrals is an issue. Like, okay, how do you solve this, right? Let's look at the deck lists. We're not going to solve it right now. SSO did nothing wrong. Let's look at some good decks. Okay. Startup, smaller card base. This is going to be a perfect example. Let's look at, I don't know. Let's just find basics Tau, right? Like, how many of these cards are the same among Anarch decks? Okay, let's not look at startup, right? Like, this is the best example. Oh, this one's actually much more interesting. No, this is a Virus Max deck. But like, if you look at all the Max decks, they're just like all the best Anarch and neutral cards, and then you just vomit value every turn, right? Like, you vomit 2, draw 1, and there's just so much good stuff, right? And so all the Anarch decks become those same cards, mind you, unless you have like a build around, like Knob Curie, Virus Max, Freedom's Ability, but all the other, like, they're all the same. It's hard to deal with that. The issue to me is that, and again, I'm on both sides of this fence, is that there's a lot of cards that are not build around cards. Like, the fact that Daily Cast can go everywhere and is good in everywhere is generally a good thing. This is another complaint that I'm on both sides of the fence. It's good that you have basics cards that you can put into any deck, because that brings all rising tides raise all ships, right? You can build a terrible jank deck, but then still fall back on 3 daily casts and be happy, right? But the issue is now every deck will play 3 daily casts, as opposed to economy that you have to build around. Like, if daily casts required some other ridiculous condition that you considered playing this because maybe it doesn't work. You see what I mean here? That's the issue, is we have too many fundamental cards that are just too good across the board, as opposed to cards they have to build around. That being said, as soon as you get too heavy on the build around stuff, where you have like next decks, where you see like, oh, one next deck, the build around of this is to play all the other next dice. Mind you, this was an archetype back in the day. All the next dice get better for the more next dice. The deck builds itself. That is something I also complain about because of the homogeneity of the whole thing. But on the other side, that's really good for newer players, because they get this like very obvious starting point for like deck building, and they generally build something that's relevant and reasonable without having to know too much about the game. It says next on it, put all the next dice in a deck. How bad could it be? So obviously a tricky dance here, of which I have no real strong solution to. I'd be interested to hear what you say, but that's the issue right now. It's like all the good stuff is stuff that you don't have to build around, right? Like, it's just, of course you're going to play Daily Cast. It's great. It's 5 credits for a click. Fantastic. Difference between trace cost X is the traces are about the relative money, not absolute. Oh yeah, it's obviously a lot more like a nuance than that. I'm just saying that's the way that Nisei looks at it, and I look at it too. You just look at a trace card and be like, well, I have to spend X. It might as well cost 9. Like, what does it matter? Just for SSO moment. Tap and Rizeki both a single influence is also. Yeah, that's actually like constantly been a problem with the game, is under influenced cards being a problem. Like, if Pad Tab was 3 influence as uniquely a criminal thing, that gives you reasons to play criminal, but also like gives flavor and means it's not going to be everywhere. Rizeki too, obviously. I think a 1 influence might be a bit too low. It's something on our mind, but probably not going to happen this year. Synchron, in terms of what exactly? Because my chat is a bit behind. I don't know what you're responding to. Also, I hope those cookies were well. I watched a bunch of your stream last night, but after it was live. With regards to you saying that you play competitive decks, I think I'm not just that. I took Nasir to regional where he had no right being there. Nasir is fun. A bit jealous. Anarch is better than Crim Shaper because they have access to in-faction alternates and neutral economy options. Yeah, I guess so. I feel like the direction they're heading is just moving to burst being able to outpace drip. Yes, and games being shorter where the value over time cards are not, you know, like busted good. You have telecontract lib accounts as replacements to daily cast. Oh, that is a terrible argument? Wait, excuse me? You don't. No, you don't. Those cards are not like replacements. This is 1 click for 5 credits. Daily cast is 5 clicks. Like, it is still an economy card. It's still a resource, but it's not the same thing. There's a lot of decks that can't and don't want to play either of those. Also, the 6 credits up front, like, it's a bit more nuanced than that. The issue is they play all of them. But like, having 6 credits is not a big enough build around for me, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Like, I want things to be more like, what is that card called that nobody plays from Uprising? Or is it which is the first one? Downfall? No. Isolation, right? Like, this is exactly it. I don't think this is a good card, but this is a card that you put in your deck to build around. Like, this is not a card you put into every deck, but it's a card that you in theory should be happy to build in a deck that has this sort of thing going on. Now, this card didn't see play. It's probably just not good enough for what it does, but this is where I mean, where it's a card that you'd actually have to consider playing. Not every deck can play, but you'd be very happy to get this alongside your combo. Maybe we're not created enough for deck builders to figure this out, but this is more what I mean, as opposed to like having to click Armitage code busting 7 times. I feel like Netrunner having a problem where everything is built around credits, so unless the condition cards are not very strong, everyone will just run cast, for example. Yeah. I agree there's space between emergent interactions like Hive Mind Fermenter that aren't just shove all the next in. Oh, that's a good answer. I'm excited to see that. I was responding to today the comment that sounded like it was about online worlds events, but I missed a tiny bit of it. Okay. I tilted very hard on stream, but oh well. You were definitely a bit upset. I saw some of the games you were playing. I watched, what did I see? I saw a lot of good Asa ones that you played. I saw the one that you're playing against Fast Events Outfit. I do think, yeah, you tilted a bit, but you called your tilt out, which is all that matters. ISO should cost 0 credits. Yeah, 0, 1, just not 2 probably. That's why I stopped myself before I dug a grave with said statement. I don't know what the statement was, sorry. Buffer drive support? Yeah, I guess so. Maybe isolation's moment will come. It could still come. It definitely could still come. The issue I have inherently with isolation, and it's the same kind of issue we saw to some small extent to the green version, spec work, is that it's hard to have these cards and not just play like Aesop's Pawn Shop, right? Like Aesop's Pawn Shop is a permanent solution. Mind you, you can only trigger at start of turn, but if you want something that gives you value for trashing installed cards, you generally just do this. So it's weird, but that's the exact idea. It's like Aesop Pawn Shop economy decks are their own unique build. We don't see them anymore. We used to. Shapers used to be so good at this thing because of the click compression they used to install things and install things on tempo or whatever. But like, I want this. I want like build around economy engines. They're so much more interesting. I mean, that's because it's so much easier to just play Gamble, Cast Laundry instead of working to get value from Isolation or White Cloud. Oh, 100%. Yeah. So maybe the payoff cards have to just be better payoff than inherently 1 click for 4 credits, as long as you have a base 5. But yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to theory craft what a runner ID that treats freelance coding contract as a core piece of their economy. Freelance coding contract. That's the throw out one? No. That's the throw out cards from hand, right? The soy beef one? Yeah. Trash up to 5 programs from your grip. Gain 2 credits for each program trashed. This was a technically playable card for a small window. You definitely need burst card draw. I don't know. Running 2 smartware distributors in every deck. I'm a smartware distributor engine enjoyer. That's good you got an engine there. There aren't a lot of economy engines around these days. No, yeah, they're not. And this is, again, a big point why I get so attracted to things like Geist or like Az that actually can play a different economy engine and play a drastically different game. It's just refreshing. It's really refreshing when these decks comes out. Like, I don't know if y'all know these like Kangamato Gabali decks. We're not going to find it like this, but there was a Haley deck, a Shaper deck back in the day that ran grappling hooks, Kangamatos, Gabalis. These were their breakers. And then it ran the sort of Geist engine. And it was a deck that was unlike anything else. It was that sort of like breath of fresh air that you get from Virus Max, where it's like, whoa, the way that you use cards and the way that you value things is wildly different. I just want to see more of that. Killing Haley killed Aesop's was such a crime. Yeah. But you did get your Haley HB identity with Asa. So to some extent, yeah, I know. We play the back in every program with a trash can, freelance for money, and somehow trigger back enough to get all the sold programs back. I guess so, yeah. That's an issue with a lot of these like trash engines, is that they do need recursion. I think the more specific cards that give you money need to have had hard requirements, will give you credits and also advance your game plan in some way. I feel like design doesn't really want to make narrow economy staples when they have to compete against Gamble, etc. And dev doesn't want to push the niche designs too hard because that would warp the core mechanics of the game. Well, could I interest you in my Consume Knob Freedom? Aaron, it's good. I like Consume a fair bit. Yeah, Solomir, it's obviously like hard as heck. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not solving these issues. I'm the one like pointing out my experience. It's probably not entirely true. That's the biggest thing that you have to understand in terms of game design. Like, it's important to figure out how you feel and explain it, but how to solve it, that's someone else's job, because it's way more tricky than you think. That's for sure. So I'm excited for Midnight Sun. And from what we've seen from the Midnight Sun booster cards so far, like, I feel like, and maybe they show off the best of the best, but I feel like those sort of card designs are way more in line to this sort of idea, right? Like Revolver on its own is not a staple card in most builds, but it's a sort of card that is flexible. You're going to see this in Criminal. You're going to see this in Shaper. Probably not going to see it in Anarch. Maybe you could. But the idea is that you have to build around this. And when you do, it is flexible and more powerful than just the play Begalter forever option. This is the sort of thing I like. So I'm really excited to see what's coming. That's for sure. That's our ramble. 12 weeks until the rest of Midnight Scoop. So sad. No, it's not 12 weeks. It's Aaron, it's on the 11th, right? That's like in 15 days, 2 weeks. Great designers can do amazing things with tester feedback. Schmendrix, how's it going? Yes. You have to be honest with your feedback though. If I serve dinner and it's not good, please tell me, or I'm going to make it again. And then you're going to have to eat it. I'm sorry. But what if we could just, play Begalter and a stack of money? Pickwin, firstly, what the fuck? I'm glad that you showed up. What the hell? Did I close it? I closed it. What are you doing? What? How did you make me a villain in a Netrunner fanfiction? And just no redeemable qualities. Like, I'm pretty sure Seto Kaiba is sympathetic in some way, Maybe there's issues. I know that there's like a little kid cheering him on, but just to crush Pat and then celebrate Nisei's neutral agenda suite. Not a first episode. Ugh. What did you make for dinner tonight? Maddie made rice with some peppers, and we had some veggie Jamaican patties. Anyone's a villain next to Pat. Anyone is a villain next to Pat. That's correct. Very good. Pick one. What were you doing? Like, how did you come to this? I'm really glad you posted it. Honestly, it made my week. It was very, very, very funny. Pat messaged me. He's like, you have to see this. If anyone wants to help out with the playtesting, we're usually accepting people. Oh, Yusengren, that's really cool. Hit up Yusengren. Pick one. Though, Sil, what? How did you get to this? What were you doing? Oh my God. That's all the news we have. Oh no. The card text update 1.3 was released. I don't think this actually, maybe some of the more crunchy Netrunner folks might understand if anything functionally changed in this. But basically they changed some text on cards. The main one they talk about is Class Act, which the way it was written was very awkward. If you had one card left in your deck, you couldn't draw it if it's the first draw a turn. It doesn't work like that anymore. So I don't think functionally anything changes. If you want to see the card text update, it's here. They also now refer to, instead of this card, they say this event or this resource. It's something I actually started worrying about when I was working on my own cards, to be like, do they call cards by name? I don't think they do. If you want to see the whole text card changes for Nisei, it's this document. Enjoy. I played a lot of Master Duel. I was bored and it felt like writing. That was really funny. Ironically, Seto Kaiba is not a villain. He just has personality. And about that, did you know about the 4Kids version cut a bunch of JP content in the original series? I've seen very little Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to play it as a kid. We're still going. I played it as a kid. Like, we collected. I didn't buy stuff. It was just like whatever you could wheel and deal on the playground. But I never saw the show because we never had cable growing up. We did have 4Kids TV though, because you could get that on channel. Why is Andre here and not on vacation? Yeah, Sengren, I goofed a bit. We were meant to be seeing family, but then my family had something came up, and so we had to reschedule. So we will see family next week. So we're still in town. So I decided, when in Rome, why not disappoint your audience again? Why would you play Yu-Gi-Oh without having watched the show or read the series? It was fun and everybody was doing it. Literally in 6th grade, it was a gendered thing, like crazy gendered thing. But at recess, all the girls would go out and play and all the boys would stay indoors and play Yu-Gi-Oh amongst themselves and with the 6th grade teacher, Mr. Meadows. And we had a good time. Honestly, it was a good time. And that's how I got into card games, just playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Andre versus Pat Millennium Blade stream. Oh, Millennium Blades is so good. Last time we played, Pat really goofed my shit up just so that I wouldn't come in first. I came in second. Class Act now interacts differently with Genetics Pavilion. Oh, whoa, really? Whoa. It wouldn't be a rules update if they didn't change the phrasing of Class Act. Oh man, Yu-Gi-Oh was like no, it's not I don't think it's inherently people don't be. When I played Yu-Gi-Oh, it was okay. It's probably more interesting now. But it's not a game I'm interested in playing right now. I know they have like a digital version that's like kind of nice, but don't at me if you like Yu-Gi-Oh. It's probably fine. It's probably fine. Arcane has a video game? Yu-Gi-Oh's changed a lot. What? Andre's family realizes he's a terrible villain. They read all of the fanfic I'm in, let me tell you. Yu-Gi-Oh's interesting in a game that can last about 10 seconds. It's like a wild game. It's like Wild West. It's like Dota 2, the card game. Where like I think there was a card that I'm pretty sure that they re-legalized this year, and Yu-Gi-Oh is one of those games where you draw one card on the start of your turn, and this card says, if I'm not mistaken, if it hits you, you can't draw next turn. If it hits you, the game is usually over. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Watch Arcane, Yu-Gi-Oh, just don't play the games. Arcane was good. Oh, on that note, have you all seen Love, Death, Robot? Is that what it's called? Love, Death, Robots Season 3, Series 3 that just came out on Netflix earlier this year? Check it out. Especially if you can only check out one of them. Well, there's 2 of them. One of them is a David Fincher one about pirates. Very good. But the last one's called Jabaro, and it's by the same person who I think did one in the first season called The Witness. His name is Miguel Alberto, something like that. Oh my God, watch Jabaro. Oh, it's so good. It is so incredibly good. And then watch it behind the scenes to show how they make Jabaro, because that's equally impressive. If you have they're shorts. Love, Death, Robots is like M-rated, R-rated collection of science fiction. Generally animations. I think they're all animated that Netflix has been putting out one a year. They're generally pretty good. They range in quality from like okay but forgettable to like high art. Check it out. Really, Jabaro is amazing. Yeah, everyone in chat who knows this, you're doing good. I really want to get my hands on Millennium Blades. Yasengrin, when you're in Montreal, man, they're reprinting it for what it's worth. Millennium Blades, they're reprinting it soon, so check it out. They say love death robots, but really ends up being sex death robots. Aaron, season 3 is nowhere near as sex as it used to be. Oh, anti-cool kids, you know what it is? Yatagarasu is a terrible card now. When I played, it was a scary thing. Alberto Mielgo, thank you, Schmendrix. Yeah, that sounds about right. Check out all his stuff. It's really quite good. Apparently he was like the lead art director on Into the Spider-Verse and then got canned, but his art is still in there and you can tell. I would advise against L99 stuff. He's sending great games, great community, terrible customer service. Mizuki, I never had that experience. They've actually been pretty good to me with customer support, but your mileage may vary. Marvel versus Capcom 3 of card games. Oh, do you just cart your box of Millennium Blades to Worlds? It's way too big. I got the collector's everything, and honestly, you need a whole suitcase for it. Is that the person who was part of the Bullet dev test team for half a year? Oh, you're probably on the inside track there, Mizuki. Okay, well, your experience is probably legitimate. His animation style is what inspired the. Oh, that's so cool. His colors are very apparent in Into the Spider-Verse, like his splashes of colors. I from what I read, he like did the intro scene with swinging through the city. That basically is the you know, kind of the capstone of that whole thing. Are you going to TO for Worlds? And if so, do you want to come to my place or the secret after party for weekends only? Firstly, I don't know. I'm gonna have to message Nisei to figure out what my plans are, but I'm hoping to be able to commentate. If it comes down to would you want to play at Worlds or would you want to commentate at Worlds, I would probably want to commentate at Worlds more than I would play. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't happen that many times a year. I do worry that I commentate way too much of Nisei stuff, and I feel like other people need the space to some extent. So like, get a bit anxious about asking to be involved to some extent. But I'll find out soon. I will go to the secret after party. I'll stop by Aaron. It'll be fine. I'll be like, oh, I have to go home. It's late. And then I'll be like out by 10 and I'll really go to the cool place. It's fine. You did a good job last year. Wendigon, thank you. I appreciate it. But there's a lot of other people who are doing great stuff too. And I feel like if you gotta let go of the mic at some point or something. I don't know. If you commentate, you're at the top table every time. Yeah, Ezra, I guess so. You can't lose. You can't lose up there. Okay. I want to build a startup Jinteki deck just to do net damage to see what personal evolution looks like in startup. I think we named the stream something like Owl My Nets. So I want to see what that looks like because I did play Prison Jinteki at a store championship circuit opener this weekend and it went well. So it's great. Yu-Gi-Oh reminds me of Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin Ball rules change with each draw. Cramson, I watched like that first episode where the part that the Pikwin absolutely character assassinated me with. And yeah, they do not follow the rules of the game in the slightest. Like not even close. Like they understand what monsters are and the art's the same and they know how hit points work, but you know, they're making up everything. Build a Neurospec deck? I don't know, Burden. Yeah, I guess we do. I do. I think we've done a startup PE deck and it had Neurospec in it. It's just harder because PE, like the issue with PE and Neurospec is that the 5/3 agendas don't exist and we're outside of startup. Jinteki has some of the best 5/3 agendas, let alone we got some altered Obacadas this last weekend. Startup PE is just to find and jam a prana and score naked agendas. Yeah, I'll do all that without the prana. All right, let's go. Collection, startup. Okay. I don't think Jinteki has any 5/3 startup. No, they don't. They have nothing. They have nothing. They have a neutral one. You're not playing it. Prana is cool. Man, everyone loves Prana. Everyone loves Prana. I think the King and I were experimenting with early in Gateway. The King was telling me that he was considering playing Grinder, but need to do a bit more testing. I think the plan to start a piece, pray that the runner is afraid that every card on the table is Snell or Urtica. Argus Crackdown? Argus Crackdown's hard because you need to ice stuff, Sebastian. I don't know if we're going to ice everything. It's not a bad idea, though. Okay, let's talk about this. So, welcome to your maybe first trap deck. I'm talking to hopefully somebody who's new to startup or to Netrunner. If not, we're still going to learn a lot on the way, okay? Vulnerability Audit Neurospike. That's an interesting idea. I forgot that was a card. So the idea is that we're going to play a net damage deck. There are a lot of decks in Netrunner that want to win by scoring 7 agenda points. Good stuff. This one can do that, but it also wants to just kill the Netrunner. Flatline the runner is the term we use. It sounds a bit softer. The idea is that if the runner ever takes more net damage than cards in hand, they're flatlined. It's important to know, if I have 1 card in hand and take 1 net damage, I'm on 0 cards in hand, I'm still alive. But if you take another net damage, that's an issue. So the idea is that we're going to build a deck that taxes the runner not on credits, not often on breakers, but more so on cards on hand. Because if they run the wrong thing and then hit a trap thinking it's an agenda, it's going to be a problem. And this is the biggest thing. If we take something like Cerebral Overwriter, one of the best things you can do is go install Advance in a naked new remote server, as free as June. The idea is if they run it, they take some brain damage, and they might not want to do that. So the question is, can you just jam out agendas? This is the big idea, is they need to run the right things and not run the wrong things. And the really important thing about these sort of decks is you have to make circumstances in which the runner is forced to interact with the sort of game, because otherwise they can slam off Central. Is going to be a problem. Did I miss the dramatic reading of the fanfic? Phil, we got to wait till Pat's here to do it. It'll probably be in July. How's it going? But yeah, it'll happen. It'll definitely happen. Snare to cut clearinghouse of the threats you're planning. Yeah, Mizuki, I think maybe even on top of that, we could consider playing Ronin, which is in the format too. So we don't need to spend all the influence on clearinghouse if we don't need to. It can be more flexible in some states though. Don't forget to go casual so you can blind include 3 engram. Thanos, that's a good shout out. I think I probably would have forgot about it. Well, actually traps are ice subtypes. You really mean ambushes. Oh yeah, technically. Yeah, thanks Aaron. Yeah, well actually, yeah, ambushes are the real type. There's trap ice. Okay, great. Now we're off derailed. Do we do something with Ronin and a clearinghouse? That's the idea. And that's the beauty here. If they run the wrong thing, it's something like a Cerebral Overwriter or the in-faction beautiful Urtica Cipher, which just does some damage, which is a problem. But if they don't run the right thing, there's also a lot of problems it can be. If it's a clearinghouse brewing in their remote server, this suddenly can do like 3 damage after they've ran and hit a snare on Centrals and they don't have a lot of cards in hand. The other option in faction is you could be a Ronin. And Ronin can do 3 net damage out of somewhat nowhere if they run the wrong thing. Or if it's an actually agenda on the table, and then you do a score agenda, neurospike, sometimes you can do 4 net damage out of nowhere as well. So there's a lot of real reasons why you want to make it hard for them to decide what to run and what not to run. The issue is you have to keep your economy up, which is a bit difficult, and you have to be able to constantly be putting threats on the table that they don't just put a Stargate and win the game, because that's one of the big issues. Stargate as a card is super prevalent in this format, and if they do Stargate, they're not accessing cards. So if they see a snare on top of R&D, they don't have to touch it. This is kind of our kryptonite of sorts. So watch out, but that's the idea at least. If they run into CO, they become bad at him. No one wants to be bad at him. To be honest, you should call a judge on Pat Jr. He clearly was cheating and he knew the top 3 cards of R&D were agendas. Catherine, today we have to learn that the heart of the agendas is in fact legal Netrunner play. We needed it. Just stack 3 snare. But that's a problem. They're never going to run them. Okay, so we have a couple issues. First is our agenda suite. Luckily, we have a lot of really mean agendas in this format. We have House of Knives, which is just 3 net damage, but we can choose when that net damage happens, so we can string them along on runs, which they cannot interact well with. That's fantastic. We have Sting, which is a card that I do not know to date the text of, but it probably does some amount of net damage +1. I'm not going to read this. From that point, we still need to put a fair few agendas into our deck, and this is where things get really awkward in this format. In the larger format of Standard, there are so many more really good agendas that either force the runner to take net damage to steal them, or do net damage or meet damage even when you score them. I don't know what else to do at this point. Find the biggest thing for ambush decks are that your ambushes and your agendas are consistent. Like you want snares and 3 2s, 3 1s, or advanceable ambushes and 4 2s and 5 3s. Yes, Aaron, this is a really good point. There are 2 kinds of ambushes. I'm going to say ambushes or traps, no matter what Aaron says in chat, to mean the same thing. So these are cards that we're putting unknown face down in a remote server and asking our opponent, what do you think this is? Is this a beautiful, sweet, sweet agenda, or is this something that's going to try and hurt you real bad? Now, there's 2 kinds of traps in this game. There are unadvanceable traps and advanceable traps. So if I just put a card in a remote server as a corporation and pass, my opponent could think, okay, what could that possibly be? There is a very low chance as a card like a Cerebral Overwriter, because if I run that without any advancements on it, it does nothing. And so much of this game will become this dance of our opponent trying to guess and play around what things in the remote are, and us threatening what they could possibly be. So the idea is, if we have a lot of 5-3 agendas or 4-3 agendas, a lot of times we want to go install advance. That means the card pool of cards that we should also have in our deck should be cards like Cerebral Overrider that are scary when they're advanced, as opposed to unadvanced cards. So if we install a Sting and don't advance it, and then next to it we play a Snare and don't advance it, these are the sort of traps now the runner's trying to figure out the difference between. So you want to make sure, for what it's worth, advanceable traps are generally a bit more dangerous. They represent a larger swing in terms of like how bad it could be, how good it could be, because if they don't run the advanced card, it could be a Ronin or a Clearinghouse. If they do run it, it could be a Urtica doing 4 net damage or 2 brain damage as a Cerebral Overrider. So you kind of have to like get a mixture of both to some extent. It's also very expensive. Install advance is inherently a very expensive thing. So make sure your economy holds up. False lead can be cut for the runner off. Oh, Shadow, I'm like very close to just looking at the last startup PE deck that we played because it was actually quite good. And we did play false lead and we liked it a lot. I recommend, again, going 1,000 cuts with too many 1-pointers, even though you're PE. You largely don't have enough kill threats outside of the agendas. That's probably true. That's one of the reasons Urtica's nice, because it still does something unadvanced. Yeah, I've never like played Urtica's on never advanced card. You're right, though, it does work. And then you can still advance it and still get more value from it, which is nice. But generally, if you want to do damage, you want to do more than 2 damage. But you're not wrong. Like this unadvanced, it's a cute little quirk of this card. Net deck and tweak. Oh, maybe. All I know about Sting is that you let the runner steal 2 of them and kill them by scoring the 3rd one. Droids, I think you score 2 and then you run. No, you're a runner and then you forget about it. And it's something about dying. I always flatline to it. I don't know. It's bad for me. Okay, we still have to fill a fair few agendas. We're personal evolution, so we have a 45 deck minimum. So we generally want to play about 49 cards, and we want to be playing 20 to 21 agendas. So we still have a lot of work to do. This is an issue, again, with this format where our agendas get quite bad. Yeah, with PE, Soul Mirror gets a bit harder, that's for sure. So what agendas do we want to play? We have Project Yu-Gi-Oh! It doesn't really do much. We could over advance it. It's not a very strong agenda if we do, but I feel like we have to play 3/2s. Speaking of 3/2s, we can play 1 Longevity Serum. It's fine. We still have to put a lot of agendas in the deck. I honestly don't know. Vulnerability Audit is like such a high risk card to me. It is a 4/3 agenda, so install advance, threatens advance, Neurospike, which is kind of what we want to do. But if they steal one of these, like it's such a problem for us. Might be able to do something cute with Vladistock. I feel Vladisabursk is probably, I reckon, Floofy, that's what you mean. I feel like if we can do that, we might as well just do Trickle Light on anything, right? It's less influence and it's more flexible. Hey, Robert, I feel like every time I play startup on JNAM, my opponent plays 3 Urticas, 3 Overriders, and gets salty when I run them and still don't lose. Yeah, that being said, if they hit a trap, you still have to leverage that into a win condition, which can be harder than not. Like, we've won games against trap decks with 5 brain damage. Like, you can do it. It's just kind of hard. Regular neutral econ agendas after House of Knife Sting. I think that's probably more likely is just to play like Off-World Office and what's it called? I really need to know what the line that the Pickwin wrote for me about neutral agendas. But it's probably right. Like we probably just run Sandbox and Off-World Office. Problem in startup is that the runner can hit literally every trap and still win. Yeah. That's why we need to run more not Urticas, Clearinghouses and Ronins. Like we have to do a bit more damage to them. It's harder in startup. Let me just check up what we've done in startup last, because we had a deck and I actually really liked it. New Corp deck. Not this. Definitely not this. Don't look at that. Startup Cambridge PE. Okay, we did this a while ago. Gonna watch Andre's stream throughout Midnight Sun's release to learn how to pronounce all the Slavic cards. Okay, this is what we did. Ooh, we did believe in the vulnerability audit. Okay. It's like barely 11, nearly 11. We probably just have to play this deck anyways. If what anything has changed is that we can drop the Tithes and start playing in an enemies, which is quite a good card. But I'll just show you what this deck looks like, because this looks quite fine. There's a paid ability window to move tokens with Vlad Grid before the Clearinghouse trigger. Yes, as long as it's in the server. And there's a paid ability window before they commit to access if there's like a Urtica Cipher or a Cerebral Overrider in the server there. I think you like the Tithe. I think we like the Tithe. It's not better than Sai Santani, right? So this is the PE deck that we've built already. The idea is that we have multiple win conditions. There is another win condition you could consider in these sort of decks, which would be if you have enough money, you could also consider a punitive counterstrike, an operation that says deal meat damage equal to the amount of agendas the runner has scored the previous turn. Now, if they scored agendas in the previous turn, that means they've already taken net damage. So you're in a good spot. Surprised you shouldn't be. Do you think Nisei would ever balance neutral for 2 agendas in this game? Thank you, Catherine. Oh, I need to sell Kaiba cosplay. Great. I want to play Vlad Grid City. Works, but so much Mad Dash and Citadel Sanctuary. Huh. We never had the meat. No, we won't have the money for Punitive. You're totally right, Wenagon. We barely have enough money for Neurospike, but the idea is that you could play it if you want to. So let's talk about the deck. Ice, very light on ice, because again, a lot of our defenses are going to be about putting the traps into the remote server, and the question is not, do you have your breaker, do you have the economy? It is this the right thing to be running? Is this the wrong thing to be running? So we run some ice just because it's important to have stuff on central. Palisade on the remote server is nice enough in startup. It is taxing enough. Engram Flush is just a wild card. You might see this in startup and think, wow, that's quite good, and it is. This card is banned in standard. This card is too good in standard format. The fact is, it is 5 strength for 2 res, 1 influence, and it just does basically 2 damage. Largely, you have to make a guess to some extent, but once you fired one, the other ones are easy. And this is really powerful. This is just wild. It really, really is a good ice. And then we have 2 Saisentan, which is nice. Just does some net damage. It could be potentially lethal, but generally, as a rule, if you're playing against Personal Evolution or any Jinteki that you really think is trying to hurt you with net damage, you generally don't want to run without a killer, just because there's so much ice that can hurt you real bad. Saisentan potentially could be lethal in the right or wrong circumstances. Now we have some Tithes for economy. We could consider playing an enemy. It's a bit difficult because we have to trash cards from hand. It's not that expensive at 3. You could also consider running Swordsman, but there's not that much AI that you need to hate around in Personal Evolution. In terms of our agendas, we're at 1 Longevity Serum, 2 Yu-Gi-Ohs, 2 False Leads. And this card actually I found to be very fun in this this sort of deck, because if the runner runs a central server and hits a snare, and then they have 2 clicks left, because they clear the tag or don't clear the tag or whatever, you end their turn, and then suddenly the Ronin in a remote server or the clearinghouse in a remote server can kill them out of nowhere. This is really quite fun. Or you could score an agenda into what's it called, Neurospike. So this is quite good. Cut Tithe for Diviner kind of works. It works more often than I think, at least. I don't like Diviner at all. It's not something you can rely on for economy. Tithe on its own is like just good enough to give you econ, and they break it for 1. Diviner is also so bad, I think, in the format, because a lot of people are running, I don't know, a lot of people are running Buzzsaw, which breaks us for 1, which is butt. If they're running, what's it called? They break it for 2 if they're running Unity. So it's not much better. It's not a taxing ice. It's not that impactful. Like, you can't rely on this as an end to run. So I find this ice having no place in most decks I've ever built, in startup or standard. I don't like this ice. It's fun in System Gateway as like a learning ice, especially because a lot of the cards are odd. But I don't like it otherwise. I think we can just play this. This seems good. It has all the fundamentals. Apologies that we didn't build it live, but we had a success with this before, so I think we can do it. Does anybody think we can make a change to put an enemy in this deck? You also, Personal Evolution, again, doesn't damage when agenda is scored or stolen, so we don't feel that bad about running 13 agendas. 3, 6, 8 of them being 1-pointers, because it's just free damage, right? Free real estate. We have 2 Celebrity Gift, a bit of a dodgy card. Don't love this card. This used to be a staple in Jinteki decks when this came out. It was such a big deal for Jinteki players. But I don't love showing my hand, especially because my hand holds traps. We could just give up an ice and play only Engram and an enemy. Honestly, there's a chance that like dropping Palisade and just playing an enemy could be right. Yeah, I wonder if you can get away with just swapping a Palisade for an enemy. Let's try it. Maybe we don't need a barrier. It's nice to have sometimes just a barrier, because that forces the opponent to find the appropriate breaker and install it. So if they lose it to net damage, they're not in a really bad spot. That being said, in startup, not only are there breakers, but there's botchos and boomerangs. So runners have multiple ways to deal with this if they have to. So we might as well play an enemy, which is just kind of good. Is Tithe that good? I think Tithe is like kind of surprising. It's a bit, I think, more annoying in standard, where a lot of anarchs have to break this for 3 credits. But in startup, most people are playing like 2. Sometimes it's free, but with Bagalter. But like, they need to find a breaker. They can't give you credit. That's good. Can you play the Shark for barrier? I don't love the Shark. It's too much influence. I feel like our influence is pretty tight. But Harkarl is not the worst barrier. It really isn't, because the Shark does brain damage a lot of times. Because a lot of times they won't run with a Fractor. I just feel like we are going to get, what's it called? Border control. Sorry, boomeranged or the other one sooner than that. The other one being Botulus. Okay, I'm going to edit this in JNet. Yeah, it's pop-up window and gray. Yeah, it's largely the closest to pop-up window. And these sort of Jinteki decks back in the day loved pop-up window, because it's exactly what the deck needed. It would be like just a bit of click compression, just gaining a few credits on the side when the runner's running is all it needs, because this deck has solvency issues. It is not like install advance. It is so easy to understate how expensive that is. It is your whole turn and 2 credits on top of it. So you could have clicked with 3 credits, so instead you went backwards 5 credits. Like, it's install advance is expensive. Just get the Palisade as a timing to get an agenda off. Maybe. I'm gonna try the Anemone. Anemone is a fun card. Especially an enemy has really good triggers where you enemy them, surprise, and then you can false lead them. Like it can set up some weird board states. New Corp deck. Cambridge. The word Cambridge, by the way, just came from this sort of deck archetype being played competitively in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm pretty sure not Cambridge in the UK. So that's why people generally call this like Cambridge PE. Jinteki was really bad when the game started. Personal Evolution. Jinteki Personal Evolution. Another thing, a card that's banned in Standard, but is legal in Startup. So we'll go Palisade -2 and Meninomi 2. Let's go. Deck looks legal, just not updated. This, home, startup, line, corp, startup, go. We do not like Steve. Is Mizuki playing Steve? 3 seamlesses over Clearinghouse? It's an interesting idea. Clearinghouse, Deep Dive is pretty good against us. Clearinghouse, for what it's worth, is like very integral to this deck. Maybe you have enough with 3 Ronins, so it's a mixed bag, but it's not bad. Seamless is not bad, especially for what's it called? Neurospike. I bet this Ken God Among Us will on buffer drive, forcing an instant concede. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Seamless also works with Ronin. No, you're totally right, Thanos. It's an interesting card. Maybe we can swap 1 for 1 or something. But we have Trickle Light, which is like the closest thing to Seamless without needing Seamless. Best of luck, have fun. All right, vulnerability audits are a huge vulnerability, so we have to protect them. Probably running multiple jailbreaks. This is Ken who wants to play run events. So multiple jailbreaks, legworks, R&D interfaces, all this sort of good stuff. So we need to watch out for that. We could go ahead and celebrity gift our whole hand. Feels bad. I think we have to open up with the doctor. We need to find a piece of ice. Why can I not? Hello? Test. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll just anchor flush HQ. Here we can discard 1 card. I'm happy with our hand. Interesting enough, like showing a hand of traps, like we can celebrity gift show that we both have a clearinghouse and cerebral overrider, and then go install advance, and then it's on them to call the right play. Playing against these decks, the weakest they are is generally on central servers because they have so many of these cards that are trashable inherently and don't do anything when you hit them on R&D, but are scary in the remote server. Res Angle and Flush, we're gonna name event because they have a lot of runs. So we're gonna get 2 events out of hand. So Jailbreak, Maker's Eye, fantastic. So the only card they have in their hand otherwise is Docklands Pass. So we just traded 2 credits for 2 of their best cards. Fantastic. I believe in turn 1 kill. Yeah, if they access here, they have a 1 in 5 to die. Like they should not access here. They should jack out right now. Please don't access. They accessed. We had a 20% chance that they die on the spot. You do not access in that case. Unless, again, if this is a tournament, maybe play differently. People play wildly differently on JNet as they do in person. But yeah, they had a 20% chance to hit the snare and just snuff. So they also died to Sting. Yeah, you're right. They died to Sting. I think that's the only on-access trap otherwise in the format. But yeah, you don't take that access. Do I risk out losing the game right now? Well, they didn't stop you before. Now the snare, I know, I might. I just might. Oh man, this is a fun thing. And sometimes they don't know how close they're flying to the sun. I was on Saturday when we played. I had a runner with Maw running HQ with 2 cards, mawing the other card, not axing the snare for a couple turns. It was pretty wild. All right, we'll just ice up our ID, click for credits. We could celebrity gift this hand. I don't think we really need to because we can res this and still have enough credits for snare. The thing here is that we kind of want to play a celebrity gift so that we can spin Doctor it back in. I don't want to spin Doctor 1 card back in. We'll see. Grandfather's deck has no bad cards. He's fine. My grandfather's deck has no pathetic cards. I have to watch Yu-Gi-Oh now. I don't know. Man, the lore is getting really difficult. Playing Bravado. All right, res. We're probably going to call event here again. Again, they could die to... No, they probably don't die to snare. We know there's at least a hardware. I'm going to call event, though, because there's so many good events. Again, if Sai Santan could have been... If they ran here on Sai Santan, they would have lost the game. Like, the Bravado face check turn 1 is so wildly dangerous. If it wasn't Sai Santan, we would have called event. They would have died, I think, 100%. So we know their whole hand. So it's 4 events and 1 DECKLISTS pass. So we're going to get rid of, I think, money's not as important as card draw. So we'll get rid of the Maker's Eye. That's a way for them to beef it, though. And the Inside Job. So we know that it's DECKLISTS, Dirty, Gamble. Should have put Offward Office in this. It's harder to score. So there's a mixture of why we should and why we shouldn't. But again, clicking for credits is normal. It's kind of how we do it around here. Like, again, Saisentan could have, I don't think it could have been lethal there, maybe. Live stream you binging the Yu-Gi-Oh series. I feel like we're going to have legality issues. Okay, I think we're just going to credit and show the farm. Okay, so now we have to remember what they know. They know we have 2 Cerebral Overrider and they know we have 1 Clearinghouse. So anything we install advance, they have to consider what it is. I would have left the Makers. That's a noose for them to hang themselves with. Yeah, that's a bit of a ugly, what's it called? Imagery. But yeah, largely it is a way that they can beef it, but they're going to have more. You're planning on advancing cards left on the board, so sneaking 4 through shouldn't be too hard. No, it probably shouldn't. Install advance is fine. Yeah, you definitely dodged that snare on turn 1, huh? This is at the 39 card mark, keeping this in mind. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's always important to keep track of cards. But yeah, they've made 2 runs that could have lost them the game on the spot. So this sort of play, like, you need to iron out sooner than later if you run into this matchup and find it to be miserable, because a lot of that's here. Sneaking out a 4-3 is a great way to make the runner tilt and play less safety. Yeah, that's actually a huge thing, though, just in general, is that a lot of times you want to, we have to pop this, is you want to force the runner into a board state where you've scored so much and have been so bold with advancements that they feel like they have to start checking your stuff. Like, that's the biggest thing, is you have to get to, like, threatening game point so that they feel like they have to do something. Okay, 10 credits. We can install advance any of these. Ronin would be pretty ideal. If they call this, actually, no, this is not what we should do, because this is the one card they don't know of. We should not install this one. Sucks to be playing prepaid Void Pad deck against damage PE. Yeah, they definitely want to be playing their event cards, which means they generally have 1 card less in hand when they're running. They're also playing Swift as opposed to Onacom. Onacom is a nightmare for this matchup. Like, Onacom really hurts. I think, Aaron, we shouldn't have IAA'd this, because now they're going to see this and then have more information in our hand. Let's see what they dirty laundry here. Oh, they're calling it. Like, we could have just done 2 brain damage. This is the issue with these sort of decks, is like, it's so wild. It's so impossible to predict it. Like, I can't predict Mizuki. Like, I don't know what they're doing. They're already making plays, which I would 0% take. But they trash a Ronin, so they still know 5 cards in hand. Boomerang HQ. And then they can run. They can hit a snare. Bravado HQ. Okay, so a snare won't end them. I'm going to call event just so they're considering breaking it. Jinteki deck feels bad to play online and much better in person. It's definitely way better in person to see your opponent sweat when you go install advance. So they're going to see 2 cards here. Hansei Review, not a trashable. Snare. Oh, that was the best 2 accesses for us. So now we've knocked every card out of their hand. Dirty Laundry, Shift, Gamble. They have a tag. We could trash the Earthrise Hotel if we wanted to. And they hit the other only non-trashable. That was a really good access for us. I think you put out the CB first always, making them respect you. Yeah, I think so. I think you put out the Cerebral Overrider to see what they do. They clear the tag. Okay. They're using every value run event. If they have more, they will run your remotes, I'm betting. Yeah, we've seen the Dirty Laundries, though. You can't bravado the remote server. We've seen all the laundries, so I'm actually not sure. Aiden, I'm new to the game, and your streams have been super helpful. Yo, welcome. Glad you've been glad you can make it to the game, to the stream too. Excuse my English. How's it been so far? Rip to a real one, Neural EMP. Wrong game. You mean Kala go to real TV, huh? My Neural EMP. Yeah, normally there was a card here called Neural EMP, which allowed you to do 1 net damage and you'd win on this board state. But times are different, huh? I think we just install advance to Clearinghouse. Oh, because like this is the thing, is if they call this right, like this is such a big deal. If they call this wrong, we can do 2 meat damage out of nowhere. So they spend their first 2 clicks doing this. They can't, if they run this with no cards in hand, like they die to a Cerebral Overrider. So this is really hard. Community is amazing. Aiden, I can't say this enough. The Netrunner community is like something else by a mile. It is incredible. Probably Hansei the Neuro. Yeah, this is the card that we definitely are going to Hansei because we're not in any place to set it up. Unfortunately, we dipped to 4 credits. So order was probably a bit bad there. We probably just want to Hansei Neuro and pass. Smash Central's win game. It's a bit difficult because if they go through an Engram flush and then like hit a snare, we can always just Clearinghouse and win. So it's getting tricky. But yeah, Smash Centrals is generally the right thing. The good thing is that if they're playing run events, they're generally not on what's it called? On Stargate. They are on Deep Dive though, which is bad for us. Time to advance clearing to 6. We can't afford to, but yeah. Eventually it gets good. If only mandatory phone calls start now. They're jailbreaking Centrals? If they hit a snare here, we win. Like, this is wild. Wait, what? I'm going to call event. And if we hit enough events here, Sure Gamble, Tranquilizer daily cast. Wild, not what I expected. So they're on 2 cards here. So if they steal 1 agenda, they still have 2 clicks to draw, but they're going to draw here. And then if they steal agendas, they take damage. They trash the clearinghouse. Like, these are risky, and they stole House Knives taking a damage. Okay. Exciting games. Draw another, so we can do 2 damage here. And the thing is, like, okay, we don't have enough money, but you could do advance score into Neurospike to do 2 as well. Like, there's so many threats that this could be. I do wish we hit them with the brain damage early. I do think next turn we have to do credit Neurospike. Sorry, credit Hansei Neurospike. We'll see what we top deck. They trashed one of the cards, so they know the next card that we're drawing. Calculated. Yeah, no, in theory, if they run here server 3, like, it's bad for us. Like, I can't tell. They're so hard to read. Mandatory draw, yeah. Oh, it was a sting. Wait, what did they access? Oh, because they trashed one, stole one, so they didn't know the card we were drawing, excuse me. I'm just going to do this, which makes this look like a trap. I guess we should draw once more. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So now we have 10 credits. That should carry us off for the next couple turns. Again, criminals in this format don't have, what's it called? Don't have, like, econ denial. Do you want the clearinghouse damage for value? No, we keep it as a threat. We definitely keep it for a threat, because if they run a snare at the wrong time, if we hit them with a sting at the wrong time, then we pop it to win. If anything, we would continue to advance it. So then they were like, oh, is it a cerebral override or is it not? Like, we want to get multiple cards on the table with advancements. Light the Fire seems good. It's a bit of a mixed bag, Connor. It's definitely good against traps because it just trashes them. But just taking optionally a brain damage, we're kind of okay with that. But yeah, it's probably not bad. I think it's either way. Cannot keep hidden information in hand as a runner. It's hard when you're smashing into Engram Flush all the time. It's a bit harder. I say IA the overrider. Yeah, I'm not going to continue to advance that. I'm going to jam both of these on the table. So then they have a 50-50 being like, oh, that could in theory be clearinghouse into clearinghouse, which is 4 meat damage out of nowhere. They have to start hitting them. Emergency shutdowns, econ denial. They have tranquilizer too, but like 2 credits is not econ denial. You know? It's not diversion. 20 hit points left. You got to keep track. We also, in theory, like, we've seen inside jobs, but we could do Sting behind Saisentan. Urtica. I'm going to jam this. Okay, go. I also feel like Build the Last is the best idea for advanceable ambushes because it costs them nothing. Oh, for sure. I have no doubt. I just like the PE ability and the rest of the card pool it supports. But yeah, I do like ambushes a lot in Build the Last. I just don't want to ruin my Build the Last win rate, so... Engram is cheap to res. Yeah, if they tranquilize an Engram, we're laughing. If they tranquilize a Saisentan, it gets a bit more interesting. Playing a Bagalter, they don't want to lose it. So the Saisentan is probably not worth resing now. Time to advance server 4 into 6. Yeah, just keep going. Advance, just go back and forth. It's going to hurt like hell. What are they overclocking? Oh, thank God. We have to remember that this costs 3. So now they just took 2 brain damage. They lost a tranquilizer and overclock, so we know nothing about hand. They can choose to trash this. It's always right to trash this in this format specifically, because otherwise we can trickle light the tokens. But now their hand size is 3. So it gets a lot harder for them to run and interact with their stuff. Yeah, trickle light is in startup. You definitely want to trash it. In the larger format, not as many people play trickle light, but there are cards that say if the runner has trashed a card, do something bad to them. So a bit of a mixed bag. You generally want to trash a card because you don't want to leave that around. Second prepaid. Okay, so we're getting close to the clearinghouse being lethal. The Wayland Trickle Light deck is fun, but loses pretty bad to Clot. Yes, that's definitely going to happen. I think we actually can install 2 stings, right? We could do sting credit. Copies of sting in the other player's score area +1. Yeah, I think we do 2 naked stings. As long as we keep more than 4 credits. It's just hard for them to run these, right? And if we score 1, it potentially does like 3 damage. Because that's a chance. If they run one of these and don't run the other one, we do advance it. We res this, do 2 damage, advance, score this, and it does 4 damage. Like it's 6 damage out of nowhere, and they don't have hand size. Now, they did draw clicklessly off Earthrise Hotel, so there's a chance that this goes terribly. They steal 1 sting and take 2, yeah. This is where you write a frowny face in this chat to feel like they found our trap. Trash is Boomerang and Earthrise. Grinding them down. Yeah, I'm getting scared though. We have vulnerability, so we can lose out of nowhere. Yeah. Randomly die card is correct. I flatline to this all the time because I cannot be bothered to do the very simple math. But now this one, if we score it, it does 2 damage on its own, 1 to personal evolution, and we have 2 damage nesting here in the clearinghouse. So if they don't run either of these cards, they die. They have 1 click to run them. And they have 5 cards in hand. Oh, we win. We did it. We have done it. Yeah, clearinghouse is lethal. So this is what I mean. Like you have to set up the right combination of cards where if they run, it's a problem. If they don't run, it's a problem. So trash to do 2 me damage, mandatory draw, advance. Trap deck. PE into Sting doesn't matter. Woo! Good game. The brain damage matters. The traps matter. They have to run the exactly right thing. Now, maybe if they ran those, like there's very little punishment. They get the second Sting. It's kind of an issue. Maybe we want advanceable ice to some extent. I called the CO and still decided to run it. Hey, that's how it works. Yeah, that's how it works. Only way to know is to check. There's no expose in this format either, which means like your traps are going to be safe. Holy crap, nice combo. Yo, Aiden, if you haven't played, any sort of trap decks, like it's so refreshing, especially if you play in person because it's really fun. GG, here's the game. But the idea is like you don't need ice as much. It's a totally different ball game. I love to show this to like newer players to be like, wait, you can play an entire game like that? Yeah, you don't need ice. Just put stuff in remote servers. Go. Let's do another one. My buttons aren't working all the time. I'm gonna have to try this deck. Yeah, again, if you're watching this later, I'll update it after on YouTube. I have all the deck lists in the description. You just have to hit the more button, like there's an arrow downwards. But if you want to see all the decks, they're there. Corp. Startup. It's fun too. I do play these trap decks though. I play the Hyobu variant in Startup. Oh, I've like never played Hyobu. Oh, Hyobu in Startup is weird. I don't know how many triggers there are. There's exposed Lemuria Codecrackers, the system upgrade. Aaron, I don't think it is. None of those words were right anyways, so. That possibly correct is correct. Introducing new players to the Game with Worlds 2018 biotech. Yo, Canada proud. Motion time. Let's go. Lat. Okay. Lat's gonna get card draw. 46 cards. A bit of cards in hand. Always opening with a vulnerability audit. Thanks. You too. Never loved that. Gonna mulligan that away. This seems more our speed. Do not know what Lat does in Startup. But cards in hand is interesting. We want to keep our hands to like a weird amount because if we have few cards in hand, they're going to try and match us with few cards in hand. I think I like this hand enough that we can just do HQ, this. If we're really brave, we can put House of Knives into a new remote server. This first one, like often, is just like a test to see what our opponent will do. An unadvanced card in the remote server is unlikely to be an Urtica or Snare on turn 1. So a lot of times running this is totally fair. The 2018 deck is wild. It was the only downside of losing Currents. It was really fun to watch that deck too. Just to watch like Josh sweat on top tables was really fun. That usually deep dives, I think, and then it's sad about ID versus PE. It's not too bad. Deep dive is really good against this deck. Luckily, hopefully we can keep like an enemy on centrals on res, so the turn that they do go for the deep dive, we like can hopefully hit it from hand. Oh, stealth. That's a really good start. Now they can start face checking. They have Trick Shataka and After Image. Luckily for us, we just got 4 free damage. Because we're going to score this out. We hit a House of Knives, hit a Penumbral Toolkit. So stealth credits. We only have 4 sentries in the deck. Actually, no, we have 6 sentries. We have a fair bit of sentries. But After Image can bypass them, which is an issue. We have to remember to keep hitting this button, though, when it matters. The grind has begun already. Yeah, Stealth Shaper. I totally forget that stealth is like a pretty reasonable thing to do, as stealth is really fun in startup format. Because you have After Image, Penrose, and then what are you playing as your Fractor? Probably just like Cleaver or Crowder. MGN, the only time I played Jinteki with a newish player, he hit a Feudal AI and died on his second turn. There's been some beautiful plays there where I've had runners die on turn 1, running HQ, like gunning through a Kamainu back in the day and then stealing an agenda. Like, wild stuff. They don't have a lot of ice. Sorry, they don't have a lot of agendas. Wow, one more time. They don't have a lot of credits. We'll get there. They did get their got their free card draw. Here we can start sticking things on a table. I'm gonna try the Ronin to see if they run or not. I like that as a start. We could also just try the Overwriter, which if they take brain damage, that becomes a huge problem. So I'm gonna try this first. A lot of times you want to do the opposite. Like, I don't have a good read here. Again, we don't know the player. We don't know how this is gonna go. But sometimes you do the safe one and then you do the trap. Fatal AI is one of the cooler traps. It was back in the format, in Nisei format last year. You can stick all three down. I don't want to install cards without advancing them, especially cards that don't do anything without advanced. Oh man, a Ronin here probably would have done it. It looks like our opponent is like playing Shaper and setting up more than doing anything else. So we can maybe setting up for a deep dive. So I think if they ignore our stuff on the table, we can just continue pushing. Issue right now is economy. This is also pretty good against deep dive. We'll res this. It's still a relevant trigger. Our money is an issue now. We can go install advance, but we will have less than 3 credits so they can run the Overwriter. So I think we can ice up R&D credit. Best we got. Miss Jinteki with Oboe TFP Fetal, where every agenda sucks to steal in the ultimate MPE experience. Yo, the pick one. I've been playing Prison, so we'll res this. It's cheap enough. We want them to steal this thing. Prana is the thing of paying for your money in this format. I detest Prana. Andre playing Prana. It is trading your win condition for some money. And I'd rather be poor and have a win condition than have some money. Let alone a card they can just trash. Do we hit them? Yeah, I'm going to hit them with the House of Knives here. It doesn't really change much. We have a chance of hitting something nice. Diesel's, I guess, something. They hit the sting. Okay, fantastic. So that's 2 more damage. It created commission, and they did lose a deep dive. So it looks like they're not deep diving us this turn unless they have a second. Interesting enough, if they run R&D here, they die. Because an enemy plus House of Knives is just 3 damage. Doesn't matter that they have the killer. They just die if they run R&D. So that's a really cool thing about keeping a House of Knives token. Prana's text says you were half of sports medal. Yeah, I really don't like Prana at all. I think the one thing we can learn about 5-2 agendas is that we need more cards like Meteor Mining. I don't know what I meant to have learned from that. Sports is a fun ability. It's a frustrating ability for runners. No matter what you do, they win. That's fantastic. Checking archives. They are deep diving? Oh, are we just gonna kill? Are they just gonna die? Or did they have to use Trickster Taka that run? No, they're not running R&D. Okay. Yeah, they're just spending Taka because this was at 3, I think, because they stole one. Yeah. Woo! Trickle Light. So we could square out the Yagi Uda from hand. It doesn't do anything besides the net damage, but then it makes the Shrivel Overwriter bad. So House of Knives is not once per turn, it's 1 per run. So we actually could have done it again, but I want to keep it because we want to set up things like an enemy House of Knives. We want them to run a trap House of Knives because you can always House of Knives when they've committed to access. That's the last paid ability window. Is Hoshiko fun to play? Hoshiko is very good to play. She's just generally good. There's not anything you have to build into Hoshiko, but there's some cute cards like DreamNet. As long as you remember her triggers, she's just good. Like just neutral vanilla good. Any ID that draws you cards is a great thing. Card draw is harder to get than credits, especially in this format. Excuse me? No, Catherine. You are not excused. You don't need to be though. Okay. Well, this is something. Penrose deals with this relatively well. Like it's one of the, there's a 5 strength, a lot of 5 strength code gates in this format. We're just going to do that. Next turn we'll jam either a Ronin or a Ronin. Andre doesn't find good decks fun. Thanks, Aaron. I like Hoshiko. I do like Hoshiko. I just wish she did something a bit more interesting. But she's very good. Card draw is fantastic. I value card draw on an ID more than anything. Okay. So again, we could Trickle Light. I don't like the fact that they have 5 cards in hand every turn. I do think they're definitely just waiting for deep dive. Shiro is fun and good to play, provided you do not mind with trigger management a little bit. Not as rough as Palantir for sure, though. Oh yeah, the triggers are way more few and far between. Dirty Laundry. Do we res our enemy here and trash? I think we do. We'll see how this goes. They lost a Hushik. Oof. They're also on Hushik. That's a very scary card for this matchup too. They are teched. They have Hushik and Deep Dive. I think Max is a bit more interesting than Hoshiko, but both are fun. Max is one of my favorite IDs. So if we hit them with a House of Knives and they commit to access, there is a chance they die to snare. The chance is 1 in 12. I'm going to do it. Oh, hold on. Oh, Sorry. I would only House of Knives if you commit to access. Oh, we have no money. You have no money. That's fine. No big deal. So we basically wait for them to access, and then we would House of Knives. They jacked out. But yeah, you're right. We don't have money, so we can't actually, which is a really big problem that we've gone down to 2 credits because we're actually not threatening Cerebral Overrider anymore. Yeah, so this is a bit of a financial misplay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Ah, it's all good. I'll be clear on my timing next time. Potential to get snared is not enough credits. Yes. Yeah. You definitely want to be at least at 3. 4 is obviously the best spot. Urka's cure here though, so big gamble to run. Technically, yeah, Urka's kill, so they probably won't want to run. You're totally right. But I think I'm way more worried about Overrider than Urka. But yeah, if flatline too, it's probably worth playing around. Okay, Ronin does 3 net damage. So in theory, if this is double Ronin, that's useless. Wait, oh, it's not double Ronin. I think we just need to click for credits this turn. This is gonna happen a fair bit. But we can always like trickle light to do 3 net damage out of nowhere. So we just have to make sure cards in hand are like a thing. Let's keep it like at least 7 credits. You should IAA the Yagi Uda so you can get agenda counters that don't do anything. Fantastic. Yeah, this has text on it. No one's really read it or knows what it does. We've all agreed it's better than Brain Trust, but we haven't agreed how much better than Brain Trust. Some amount. I think the really lead strat here would be to try to stay a 1 or 2 cards in HQ so if they want it in lat range. I know it's just really hard, Aaron, with all this stuff. We're not gonna House Knives. We want to keep this House Knives for a relevant trigger. I've read the Yagi Uda many times and still don't know what it does. Oh, they're really trying to deep dive us here. So we have to do the 1 and 5, unfortunately. It's 1 credit to break this? Oh, disgusting. Access? I'll check though. Yeah, it looks like they're gonna deep dive us. We have no agendas in here. Okay, so we have a 1 and 5 to hit a deep dive. Let's go. Rizeki, fantastic. So we're getting deep dived. That's a problem. We could consider spin doctoring back in these 2 cards. It's probably fine just to put fewer agendas in the deck. Mind you, we have vulnerability audits. So this also creates some secrecy. So vulnerability audits means we really want to make sure they don't see that 3-pointer. They don't see a vulnerability audit, which is the best case. The only agenda they see is House of Knives or Sting. So we're feeling okay about that. They don't have 2 clicks, so they can take a House of Knives probably. They don't want to take a Sting. If they take a Sting, like we trickle light a Sting off the top. And that does damage. We win! We did it! We win! We let them! Yeah, now they died a run. Okay. I don't even think we have to do anything good. We just do advance. Sorry, I'm a bit dizzy. I'm so excited. Good game. That's right. There is a trap on the table if you don't run. Oh man, they were really trying. You could tell. Wow. I was scared to see Deep Dive and Hushik. The traps don't like that. That's for sure. Yeah, we could have trickle lighted them. I don't want to stunt on them, but yeah, it would have worked. But this is the thing. Like, this is the sort of trap deck I love. Decks where, like, if you don't run, it's an issue. If you run, it's an issue. Like, you have to have a mixture of those sort of traps. Like, some of the traps are just bad for you, and some of the traps where if you don't run, it's bad for you. It's so important. This deck is scary. Aiden, there's a lot you can do to play around it. We haven't run into, like, Stargate, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it can really goof people out of nowhere. Yeah, you keep hitting them, and it was tough for me to install everything I need for Kushik and all the damage I have to plan on taking. Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, totally true. Deck has a lot of sentries. Fantastic start with the after image. After image plus rogue. I think Taka, she's a rogue, right? You shouldn't DD all if it puts you below 3 cards. You have to expect Ronin there. Yes, yeah, for what it's worth, I think you play around Ronin. Clearinghouse, you're technically playing around. You, in theory, have to play around. I guess we didn't have the money, but you have to play around, like, score 4-2 into... Because that's the thing, if we score a 4-2 or 3-2 on the table, and that does a net damage, and then we do a complete image, that does 2 more net damage. So there's a lot of ways where a double advanced card on the table is 3 net damage in this matchup. Yeah, sometimes Aiden, like, you know, your deck has a deep dive, so you want a deep dive. You understand that in this matchup, deep dive is really good because we have a lot of traps. So, yeah, I only have enough influence to single Taka Swings on his B, but stealth drive. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. And that lockpick, whatever it's called. I don't know that card. We trashed it in turn 1. Countering pressure for the first 4 turns is really rough. That happens when Corp is bankrupted and that's like 4 turn-ins. I think Stargate works once a runner stabilizes. Oh yeah, you don't drop Stargate on turn 1. That's also a big thing about this deck. Like it takes a while for us to win, so like you're in no pressure. So do what you will. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the game, eh? Good game. Cheers. All right, let's do one more. It's 11:30. If I'd turn 1 Stargate if R&D was open. I would only do that if I've also have like a dirty laundry or a hedge fund or sure gamble. In that matchup in startup, maybe you can get away with it. It's not like they're gonna really punish you for it. But you know, there's a lot of matchups where you don't want to do that. Go down to 1 credit to play Stargate. They ice up R&D and they're like, what do you do? Click for 3 credits and install daily casts. Like it's ugly. At Queen's Gambit to startup. I wish. I love Queen's Gambit. We've played against Lambda before. Flower Sermon, silly Hyobu. Hyobu is unironically the best in teching startup. Really? I have never played Hyobu. Hey. Why do we always have an opening hand with a vulnerability audit? This is Reyna. Reyna is going to do a lot of ice destruction stuff. Like this is actually going to be economic pressure. So we're going to see things like en passant. Is Run Amok still in the format? Emergency shutdown. Luckily, we have cheaper ice in our hand, so I think we can keep this hand, just have a snare. The vulnerability audit is obviously like, yikes. Yeah, Xanadu for sure. But I'm going to keep this. We're going to keep this. Because we have cheap ice. We can ice up both Central's hedge fund. Because it's just so vulnerable. Yo, they nailed the theming. 10 out of 10. You hold this, you sweat. It's that simple. You install advance it, you sweat. Your vulnerability is going to be audited extremely. I'm worried more about HQ pressure because of shutdown and stuff. I'll do this. If we res this. Okay, Reyna says, mind you, the first ice we res each turn costs +1. There's a card, Xanadu, a unique resource for 3 credits that says all ice cost up 1+ yes. They just put all that stuff together and try and make it awkward for you. Reyna really, I don't love her in startup. There's just not enough pressure tools, I don't think, to make it really relevant. Okay. Don't mind if I do. We still have Snare Money, which is fantastic. Bravado is maybe the best startup card that works well in Reyna, but you're not Hishiko's the issue, yeah. I'm going to call Event here. Fire. Fermenter Keiko, the Nihilist Keiko Imp, full whiff on Engram Flush. Feeling quite bad. Name resource? Aaron. Would have been upset. Honestly, program was the call. Call program. Everyone. Oh, snare. Everyone says after he fires it, and then the stream delay walks out. Yeah, it looks like it's a virus deck. Ouch. For both of us, huh? I promise. That's a lot of money. So we know their hand, we have to remember, is 2 Keikos. Their hand is 2 Keikos. That's an awkward hand. Blues Brothers, bloody hell. Yeah. That was a good hit. Obviously, these would have been bad. They don't need to clear the tag. Hits the snare anyways. Well, yeah. Mizuki, by the way, you ran. Click 1. Went down to 2 cards. Oh, Tithe. Yeah. We love resing multiple ice in the same turn. Because Reyna's only first time a turn. So this is probably going to hit a Keiko. It does. We get a credit back, so it's a free res. They get a single access here. If it's a snare, we can't afford it. So they could safely access here. There's nothing that will, I think, end them. They still have Sting. We're happy. Always call program turn 1 and 2 can win you the game. Yeah, Blues Brothers, you're probably right. Against a criminal, I probably would more often. Again, I think we were just too comfortable playing against Steve. Or not Steve, sorry, Ken, where like program's the right call 9 out of 10 times. I'm going to draw a click 2 just to be on snare money. But I don't want to keep 2 agendas in hand and a dead card. Hate Jinteki. So yeah, they're all in credits. We know they have a Keiko in hand. That's all else we know. I was really tempted to faceplant a dirty laundry to R&D. It was too good to be true. Yeah, Mizuki, on turn 1 you would have died to what's it called? To shit. They cleared the tag. They would have died to a Saisentan. Your running was like pretty aggressive. The best counterplay to traps is a count siphon. Yeah, we don't have that though. There's no Lacan denial like that. I'm honestly like kind of interested in putting both of these naked. They're a bit scared of us. They've hit 1 snare though, so like I think install advance events is probably the better play. If we install advance events, Theoretica Cypher, like we have 3 false lead in the deck, I think, which is like a pretty hot draw. Let me check how many. 2 Trickle-Light. Sorry, I meant to say Trickle-Light. That's unfortunate. False Lead's kind of strong. Yeah, it's really good with Ronin. It's quite good. Let alone Clearinghouse or even Neurospike. Because you can actually, if you have 2 false leads, you can pass their whole turn, so you can score Vulnerability, Ada, and Neurospike on the same turn. We spent too long thinking on this turn. I think I'm just going to click for credits. That's unfortunate. The longer you think, the weirder the turn gets. PE so sad without Gia Hands. Yeah, Gia Hands was like the PE card back in the day for these sort of decks. It was in the first deluxe expansion. It was just a 3-1 that let you click for 3 credits for 2 clicks, mind you. So it was better than clicking for credits, because a lot of times you did that and then installed a card, or just did that and did something else. It was good enough. More decks that beat it being played recently, though, so I don't play it so much. False Lead Gag is fun and standard. Yeah, not a lot of people love playing against Gagarin. 3 Neurospike in this deck feels like too many. Burden, you're probably right. We probably would want a more Trickle-Light than that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, when we built the deck, we were so like into Neurospiking that we built around it heavily. So it's a bit of both. I'm just gonna do install credit. I think we're happy with either one. They now get this down, which is really good for them. Yeah, we could definitely cut a Neurospike to play like another Trickle-Light or just more economy. Best way to counter this is just drain corp money, so long as my face is not ripped apart by Overrider. Yeah, for sure. It's kind of hard. That's why we want to keep it a bit slow. Ken is the economy not to give a damn and keep click drawing? Kind of. It's not so much the economy. I don't really care about the economy. Paladin Puemo. Now with 6 cards in hand, like sometimes people just run this click. You don't want to run last click because of snare, because then we can like rip up the board. So it looks like it's a cookbook coming down. No surprise there. And here we can score out. The question is, do we score out False Lead or House of Knives? I feel like the False Lead's more interesting. I'm going to go for it. The House of Knives is obviously more damage. It's actually 4 damage. This seems probably more important. And often we don't put 2 agendas on the table, so a lot of times they don't run this. We have 5 credits. Aaron says House of Knives. Okay. For you. But yeah, I think either ways. I think False Lead's more interesting. We don't have anything to like capitalize on the False Lead though. But again, if we score 2 False Leads, we can just do install advance vulnerability. Oh no, technically not. Because you can't do advance. Yeah, it does, what, 4 damage? You could actually do it. Lead here could kill. They're drawing aggressively. Like, verbal helps a lot. So they have to start running for any of this to be relevant. Next turn to hedge IA the Urtica. I kind of like it. We definitely want to hedge before we score this out. Otherwise, we're going to get in a really ugly spot. And we want to make sure that we have enough money where if they eventually get an emergency shutdown or engram, we're always floating at least 3 so they can't just, like, smash HQ. But their economy is gutted. I think we still know there's a Keiko in hand. But like, there's some weird stuff in here, like a lot of viruses. So we're going to assume Fermenter, Botulus. Looks like we're playing or installing a card here. There's the Keiko. Okay, so we know nothing. Yeah, I'll do install advance this. That's fine. Again, this does 3 damage. That's a lot. Clearly, they haven't taken Andre Kaiba's econ advice. My deck has 1 Rezeki and 1 Dirty Laundry, and that's enough. Virus deck here equals Tranquilizer? Chisel? Yeah, could be. This is our weakness to Chisel for sure. Tranquilizer is less likely. It's a lot of influence. I do think you're right with Reyna. That could make some sense. Luckily, we're not too weak to it. And again, if they commit to access this, we can always like hit with the House of Knives. That's 4 damage out of nowhere. So, using Paladin credits to install Keiko. Oh, I guess you're right? Yeah, it's awkward. The trigger in this doesn't fire. I've never actually seen that happen, but you're right. It shouldn't work. This is cheaper though, right? Because it's the first companion. That's really weird. I wonder if actually install advance the vulnerability is the right play, right? Because then we could be on 4 points. Just install advance this. Like maybe we shouldn't have installed advance this. We should have installed advance the vulnerability because they seem a bit timid about like what we were able to do because they had a really gross turn 1, I guess. Not really. That's a trap. I know it. Axis? You always have to ask, even if it's a trap or it's not a trap. Here, I'm not that tempted to House of Knives just because they have 7 cards in hand. Why not? Are you committing to... Okay. Okay, whatever. Hit a Xanadu. It's an Urtica. House of Knives. Use the Urca ability. Okay. So we got a Tranquilizer, Sure Gamble, and the Nihilist. So 2 Nihilists down. That's some of the influence we've seen. 3, 4, 5. ASDF is... This you technically want to trash. I know it costs 2, but you want to trash it because it's a Trickle Light target. If you can afford the 2. They couldn't, unfortunately. So now, down some cards. 4 damage more towards the grind victory. I don't think we're gonna get a grind. We're definitely gonna get a burst. I'd be really surprised if we got a grind. But hey, we got the Xanadu down. Not that we're gonna res that much more ice. Smartware coming down? Oh, putting credits on Smartware, excuse me. Now AA the Vol? I don't know. I'm not brave enough. That feels like a sign. I would not do this, but I'm going to do this because I believe. And everyone wants me to. Okay, I'm doing it. Because if they don't run this, we do advance, Neurospike. But they've been running it. They know that like this is a trap. I'm gonna run it anyways. I'm not leaving my house without Light the Fire. I don't even know Light the Fire is that good in this matchup. I don't think you want to take brain damage for fun. It's probably worth it. But I think I play Light the Fire in startup no matter what. Once bitten, twice shy. I don't think I've been bitten yet. I'm just like scared of being bitten. Even once would be too much. Fuck. I tried to warn you. Nah. Okay, well now they're gonna be cocky. Now they're gonna be brave. Surely, nothing wrong there. Just a little agenda. All right, they're playing isolation. Feels bad. I know, it does feel bad. It feels terrible. We're halfway to losing, and we didn't do anything. I'd like the fire card advance 5+ times. Yeah, Catherine, at that amount, I definitely would. We could have House of Knives there. Really didn't want to. Paladin. Ooh, too many tokens. Trash one of your installed cards, or Paladin. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. You definitely want to keep the Paladins. Way too good with Keiko. Fuck. I hate these companions. Hey. I mean, hey. Plemo is lovely. Trash your cookbook. You don't need it. This is why Reyna's on isolation. Yeah, I know. They really do not like the companions. They will be isolated. Mind if I not at all? Isolation is how they justified Smartware? Yeah, sort of. Here you definitely want to install something because you want to get your Keiko ability anyways. Once per turn, use a companion. So you hit 2 stones with 1 bird. Good stones. Undo click. You can't go farther. So actually, maybe you can. I don't know. Play Smartware in all my decks, even in standard. The pick win. Yeah, that's how you end up in the sort of lore environment that you have. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you can only do click once. That's okay. They'll just do it. And if they undo turn, there's a chance that they won't run the vulnerability audit. So maybe we should push for that reality. Roja's Entourage of Magic Companions is having that filler anime episode where they're being depending. I see. Oh, this is not a connection. Yes. Oh, this is really bad for us. That is free card draw while running. That is a nightmare. That is, well, as a card, it's not cool. As a legal play, yeah, fine, I guess. I don't know what to do anymore. Dream that's so annoying for P in Gagarin. It is really quite a problem. I'm going to just score the false lead. In theory, they could have died here, right? If this is a Ronin, we'd have to do Tricklight Advance. Oh, I can't Tricklight. They also know what this is. I ate the other vulnerability. Aaron, no. I've been bitten once. I have been bitten once. I don't like... Guys, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. Okay, this is Twitch chat plays Netrunner, and it's all just about jamming 4/3s naked on the table. And this is one we're gonna lose. I have no faith in this play. I really have no faith. And at the end of the day, this goes into my phone as my stats. So, vol for content. Yeah, vol for content for sure. Do you have to draw 4 before running this thing? Technically, but it's not hard for them. Like they draw once for 2. Draw. Dream that. What do you do? Oh, you're installing. That's fine. Please install cards. Populous. I think we might have distracted them. Wait, do we have enough money to score out and Neurospike? No, we're short. We're 1 credit short. Oh shit, we're 1 credit short. Run to the tithe as a joke. Run the tithe as a joke, please. Fermenter, 300 credits. I don't think we score this. I think we leave it on the table. If they hit the sting, we win. If they hit the sting, they have a 1 in 4 to name a sting. I'm going to call event, I guess. Yeah, I think we leave it. Andre succumbs to peer pressure. Look, I'm glad that I have everyone enabling me to come to these plays that I'm not brave enough to do. Fire? It looks like they don't have events in hand. Okay, cleaver simulchip. Okay. Hit the sting, please. Hit the sting. Narrow spike. Okay, fine. Aren't you glad the Vol's out of HQ now? Yeah, kind of. Okay. Hit on me. All right, well, we have to pull him in a direction. Why not this one? I'm torn. I wanted to give good advice, but bad advice is much funner. Macron, I'm on board. Big brain, get the Von out of HQ so they can't steal it. Yeah, Catherine. I think you all are onto a good idea here. I wonder, like, maybe we slow roll it. How much do we need to vulnerability? 5, right? Advance, sorry, to neurospike it, right? So we have, that does 3 damage. So there might be some play here where we need false lead. Oh, we also should have House and Knife there for sure, because then we would have won on the Yagi Uda as well. The Nihilist, I'm not trashing cards. Probably should trash cards, honestly. But I don't want you to draw cards. Please just install, like, another card. We win. We have won the game. I think we win. Zep. Zippity zoo. What? Why did they draw? Oh, memory diamond. Fine. We still win. We still win. Oh, they have a click left. Never mind. I thought that was the end of their clicks. You still win? No, I don't think so. No, we don't. They have a click left. We won! Advance. Score. Okay, just left that on the table. Okay, gonna hit this button. That was wild. Oh, if he ran that, we were sweating. We were sweating. That was the game on the table. Oh man, yeah. Yo, Aaron, I'm so glad that worked out. Oh my god, I'm so glad that worked out. Woo! Invulnerable audit. Oh my god. All that math in the background, those, I'm assuming, differentials. It's lethal out there. We just punched each other in the face so hard. So I know. Oh yeah. We traded some swings. Oh man, that's good stuff. Sometimes vulnerable. Okay. Yeah, you have to keep track of cards in hand. It's easier on JNet where you don't have to ask all the time. It makes it a bit more suspicious. You see how bad our credits are, right? Like credits gained, 30. We are limited to our credits, but we have to play a bit slower. Thanks for the game. Well, I don't see how you don't see yourself as a villain after all the runner bodies you left in your wake today. Yo, get the bulldozer. Oh man, I've made some upgrades to make this more exciting. God, my brand is so messed up this week. If you have flatlines, you have to log off JNet for the night. Yo, my nets. My poor nets. Thanks. That was fun and painful and scary. Hey, catch your end. Good game. We didn't see what the Dex was going to do. Hey, cheers. Okay, cool. Yo, real talk. I'm on vacation now. There will be no stream next week. I promise you. Sorry about this stream. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Aaron, I can't believe that panned out. Well, I kind of can. There's no way you jam 2 of those in a row. That'd be totally buck wild. That's gonna be it. We're off next weekend. It's Maddie's birthday on next week on Monday. I knew the date. So wish her happy birthday next week, not now, because you will be cursing her. So we'll be back in July. Again, we hit 5,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Yo, huge. Thank you so much for that. For liking, subscribing, telling your friends, commenting, all that great stuff. It helps a heck of a lot. We will do a big stream in July on a weekend day. I'll let you know what it is, and we will stream for like 8 to 12 hours. Send me deck lists. I'll go through my emails, do QA, whatever. We'll make an event out of it. It'll be fun. Stream next week. I'm going to Acme your face. Nope, not going to be there. Promise you that. Enjoy your vacation. Thank you, Aiden. Oh, real quick, I definitely want to shout this out. Reddit.netrunner/ OTG is coming real soon. I think Orbital made a post. Ooh, that's cool. That's really nice. Orbital made a post just recently off the grid New Year's National Championship. I think they had to reschedule it. This, by the way, is a huge Netrunner tournament. I think it's the North American US National Champions or something. The U.S. National Championship is happening at the beginning of July. It is at the Game Center in what's it called, in Minnesota, outside of St. Paul or whatever it is, where the FFG Center. Will there be a hot tub? Probably will be, Macaroni. So do check this out. Orbital has been running it for a long time. It's a fantastic event. A lot of great players, a lot of big celebration of Netrunner. So if you're around, it is a competitive event in standard, but it's great fun. Does the Toronto Sheraton have hot tub? Almost definitely. I'd be surprised if it didn't. Roseville, that's the name, Ken. How's it going? Yeah, Roseville, Minnesota. Just outside of you get into the St. Paul. It has another name, airport. At the Game Center, Zenter, check out, they sell their own like Arkham stuff and their own like reprint of Lord of the Rings stuff. It's fantastic. Anyways, enjoy. Go to that Indian restaurant across the street. I had a good time when I was there. And then I ended up paying for someone else's meal who balked on it. So F you. That's it. We'll be back in a week. Take care of yourselves. Thanks to everyone hanging out in chat, everyone watching the VOD. Hopefully you're doing well. Happy America Day, happy Canada Day, happy Moving Day, happy Jean Baptiste. Everyone we played games with, good games, a lot of fun, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Congrats on the subs. Thank you. Hey, Dominic, bold agenda plays. Thanks for melting my brain. Yo, good GG. That was really fun. I did not think we'd keep jamming out, but chat kind of encouraged me there. Good game. Take care, y'all.